What is up, Friday Nighters? Welcome back to another episode of Just Another Friday Night. I am CM Chuck. This is
Double A.
We call him Adamantium Adam sometimes, the long name. I put it up there in full because it's been a while, so you might not remember.
It's been a while.
It's been a while,
since
man.
we've been in the podcast live.
Together, anyway. So cheers to that first off. Thank you very much, sir.
Yes, it has. It's been well over a month since we've been together
and
in this room.
We took a week off last week, which we never do, right?
Yeah,
we never take a week off of the show.
It's only because of what's coming up, and we wanted it to be special. Oh, cheers, Steve.
Cheers, Steve.
Steve, check it out, man. I'm trying something new. My cousin turned me on to this. I like it a lot.
Shout out to Ruben. Steve, this is good. This is good. If you like a little lime salt flavor, it says chilada, but it don't taste like it.
No, it doesn't.
Chilada at all.
It doesn't. Guys, man, what's been going on with you? I know we've been kind of in and out. I've been hosting some duties on my own. CM has been hosting some duties on his own. We tried doing the virtual thing. It worked. But damn, it feels good to be back together.
Good to get the band back together.
Get the band back together, have a beer. You know, yeah, I drank on the virtual, but it's not the same as being here actually drinking with your partner.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
So, man,
absolutely.
I'm glad we're here again. I can actually see the comments. I can actually read.
It makes for a more robust conversation when we're both here. We're both seeing everything.
And Jason's here. He goes, "Damn, bros, what's up?
What up, Jason?
What's up, man? Hope you're staying warm." Steve, you too, man. Hope you're staying warm. It's pretty fucking cold out there.
It is very chilly, very chilly. Guys, how do we sound? Do we sound okay? I don't know why, but I feel like we're muffled in my ears.
Really?
A little bit.
Okay,
I don't know why.
I feel okay with mine. Guys, what's been going on? What's happening this week? It's the first weekend of February. You know, everything's getting ready. Well, we just had some great playoff games.
Oh my gosh.
That we haven't really been talking about.
We hadn't got to chop up football.
Man, maybe one of the best playoff, seasons I've ever seen. I mean, man, every damn game was down to the wire. Home teams were losing. Mm-hmm. The teams that you thought were going to win didn't win. I was like, wow.
Last second drives, walk-off field goal wins.
Man, oh, man.
Double A, let's just real quick. Chiefs and Bills, man. I wanted to do the Fight Forever wrestling chant. I was like, let this game keep going. I was like, I was jumping out of my seat and everyone was like, do you like these teams at home? And I was like,
that's the thing, though. That's why I always tell people football is the only sport where, hey, I'm a Cowboy fan, but you know what? I can watch every fucking game that's on. Every fucking game. And I'm like, man, this is great. I can't do that with basketball. I can't do that with baseball. I can't do that with any other sport.
Agreed.
Football is the only one where I can actually go and be excited for another team.
Yeah.
Or just being there for the game. Like, damn, what a great fucking game that was.
Yeah.
You know? And, man, that
amazing
Buffalo Kansas City game was fucking amazing. I mean,
that's got to be one of the greatest games, probably maybe in history. Yeah. I told my sister, she has a hard time getting into football until Amy, and I said, this is the game that if no one ever saw football and wanted to get into it, you would show them this game. Because it was so freaking exciting. Yeah. I was like, man, this game was great.
Rich, long time no see. Cheers.
Rich, welcome back, brother. It's good to see you, man. Congrats on the new job, man. Amazing.
Rich says, let's go Bengals. He said he's looking forward to a good Super Bowl and the halftime show.
Yes, I'm looking forward to both those things as well, man. I got familiar with Joe Burrow after this. I was like,
that guy became like an overnight superstar after that game.
This guy is the guy, you know what I mean? So, of course, the other big sports news, Mr. Tom Brady, TB12, walking away, hanging up his cleats, man.
What a fucking career. Golly, what a career that was.
Yeah. 22 seasons. My personal all-time favorite player.
Number one in touchdowns. Number one in passing yards. It has 84,000 passing yards. Golly. It was amazing when Marino retired when he had 60,000. We're like, oh, no one's ever going to pass Marino.
Right.
This guy breaks it like with over 20,000 yards to spare. I was like, golly.
Yeah. I will say, though, man, some of these young guns, they might be after some of his records. But
I don't know.
The 7 rings,
it's almost like the Nolan Ryan record. It's like you got to be consistent. You got to be good for 20 plus years, and you just got to keep hitting that mark. I don't know if there's going to be another guy that's going to do that.
Right.
I mean, golly.
That's what's hard, right? And that's what Tom Brady did, was the commitment to his physical health, all that.
Yeah.
And plus, too, you have, you got to have like a good home life situation too. Like his wife seemed to be pretty understanding that he wanted to keep playing.
Yeah, she knows he's the ultimate.
Yeah,
he was the ultimate football player. So.
And you're in the conversation with, basketball. We think we've got it solidified with Michael Jordan, and then you're the conversation to be that you're now the name in football. You know what I mean? It's like you're the name.
How can he not be? I mean, honestly.
Yeah.
Rich says, thank you. Good to be back. And he said Tom Brady is definitely the GOAT.
Love it. Agree.
And then Jason asked us, who are y'all going for Super Bowl?
We knew we were going to get asked. I'm
going for the Bengals just because the Rams have already won a Super Bowl. So I would like to see another team that hasn't won a Super Bowl win. So I'm going for the Cincinnati Bengals.
Yeah, I also am going for the Cincinnati Bengals.
Even though, man, great for Matthew Stafford, though.
Yeah, finally, right?
He's stuck in Detroit, and then all of a sudden, his first year with the Rams, he takes them to the Super Bowl. Yeah, I was like, wow, first year. So I mean, golly.
Which does gotta say something, right, for that team, right? Double A, because they were in the Super Bowl 2 years ago. with their coach McVay, right?
Goff.
And Goff, yeah. Of course, it was kind of a lackluster performance on both teams, the Patriots and the Rams, but enough to beat them.
But the Rams were terrible. That was a terrible one. And who knows? Maybe it was Goff. I don't know. Maybe Stafford will be different. And then Cooper, wow, I didn't know how good that guy was until I actually saw him. Yeah, I was like, holy shit, that guy's good. He was burning everybody.
I'm sure he felt sad that Tom Brady retired because he's never going to get to catch a pass from him. But, pretty good, man. That guy is legit. I'll take him in New England any day. So,
Rick says also Big Papi from Red Sox making it to the Hall of Fame.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, Rick.
We're Yankees fans, so...
But
respect to Big Papi.
And he goes, what do y'all think about Barry Bonds not making it and not being eligible anymore? I'm fine with all those guys. Honestly, I'm fine with Clemens not going. I'm fine with him not going. I'm fine with McGuire not going. I'm fine with Sosa not going. They did something that was, very, very wrong. It's illegal in baseball to do that kind of stuff or anywhere, probably in sports, to get a little booster.
Yeah.
I mean, how can you go... Barry Bonds, after 20 plus years and still hitting more homers than you did at your peak. I mean, that's fucking insane. He hits 81 like at late of his career. It's like, come on,
Yeah,
I'm fine. I'm fine with those guys not making it to the Hall of Fame. They knew what they did was wrong. They went against the rules of baseball. So
I don't exactly feel the same way as Double A, or I could say probably I feel the opposite. I'm more like, I'm not saying that they should go, like I would sign a petition for it or whatever, but I'm more of the mind of, hey, if you're going to do it and don't get caught or whatever, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I just feel like it still requires skill to hit the ball, right?
It does require skill, but I mean, trust me, I would have loved... I was huge on McGuire.
Mm-hmm.
I was huge on Sammy Sosa. Our buddy is a huge Chicago Cubs fan.
Mm-hmm.
He loves Sosa, but I mean, they all got caught. They did get busted, though. That's the problem. They all did get busted, and most of them admitted to, I took steroids.
Yeah.
So
if I went out there on steroids and tried to hit the ball out the field, it's not happening. So
like A-Rod, I mean, he admitted it. He took it when when he was with the Rangers.
Yeah.
So I don't think he should go in either. So
Lance Armstrong, did they take his medals away?
Yeah, they took everything away from him. Yeah,
stripped.
So I mean, look, it's all the rules.
Yeah,
you can't do that shit. So I mean, stop. I mean,
that temptation though, man. I guess it's just right there. So
but
I don't know. You got to be willing to take the fact that might happen to
boxing. In the corner, you're only supposed to get water. Anything else is considered illegal. Okay, that's it. That's all you're supposed to drink is water.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Interesting. Interesting. But good topic of conversation there, Rich. Steve says, I'm checking out a 72 flick, The Gargoyles. I never seen that one, Steve, but there was a great cartoon in the 90s,
Yeah.
Called The Gargoyles, and it was freaking awesome, man.
Steve, what is that movie about? It's a gangster movie? Is it a drama, thriller, suspense,
monster movie?
I know the 70s. We love the 70s flicks. So Jason said he's going for the Bengals.
There you go. Good pick there. I usually root for the AFC anyway, so I'm mainly an AFC guy.
No shit.
I would say that when I was kind of pulling for Tom with the NFC was the only time that I really cared, to. And again, not even necessarily rooting for them.
I didn't even think about that. Yeah.
I've always been an AFC guy. Yeah. All you guys are all NFC guys, almost all of you exclusively.
Me and my brothers are NFC East.
Specifically, y'all are in one conference. Yeah, the Jacks NFC at San Francisco.
Crystal, you're in the house.
Hey, what's up, Crystal?
She's going for the Bengals too.
Very nice. I like how you spelled it, Bengals, like the band. You know, walk like
Crystal. Why the Bengals? Are you a big fan of Joe Burrows? Like every woman, it seems like.
It seems like right now the new stud, right? The new guy.
Hey, Crystal. Rich says he's rewatching Smallville. Man, awesome.
Oh,
Rich.
Nice, man. Yeah,
awesome.
Double A, great job on some posts this week. Yeah, Double A.
Okay.
Double A went through a slew of postings regarding some of our older episodes for you guys to go and check out. Since we had a week off, he smartly realized, it's kind of dry on our social media, so he put up some stuff, and I didn't even realize that I went back and kind of put it up in a story form for you guys to see, but referencing our Smallville episode, our Ghostbusters episode. But Steve watching that movie, The Gargoyles.
It's a little horror for today, kind of fun now. So
nice.
And Crystal says, I want someone different to win. I said the same thing, Crystal. I would like to see another team win the first one, like you just said. I would like to see a team win the first one. We've seen many firsts since like 2000 almost. So I'd like to see that keep going. So
yeah,
I mean, who would have thought Cleveland Cavaliers would have ever won a damn title?
Never, man. And then I've always thought that the Bengals helmet looked cool. Like it looks like a tiger, like a Bengal. You know what I mean? So
fortunately, they had to go up against Montana in the 80s. So
yeah, no one was winning against that guy at that time. So I think this might be Jerry. What's up, dudes? Wish I could stay for the show because I have a lot to say about Cobra Kai. Well, Terry Silver stole the show. Daniel Johnny combo was great to see. Can't wait to find out what Chosen brings next season. And I bet Barnes comes back. Anyway, have a great episode. I think that was you, Jerry. It just says Facebook user. Guys, if you're joining us via the group, the Friday Night Faithful group, please put your name at the end or beginning of your comment so I can give you credit for your name. Because for some reason on StreamYard, it comes in without your name. So I'm not able to see it. But I think that definitely was Jerry. By the way, it was written out there, and some great excellent points. Jerry, we're definitely going to touch on some of that stuff. Obviously, guys, I already kind of had announced that we're talking Cobra Kai tonight, so
I want to hear. You're still in the house, try out this beer. You too, Eric. If you're still here with us, I see you're just commenting. Check this one out. It's pretty good.
Crystal says, I want to see them win their first one. Regarding teams win, I like to see teams win their first one. So it would be Cincinnati's first if they did.
If it's not our teams, we usually like to go for
right.
As it won their first one.
Right. Steve says
later it's Night of the Shrew.
Oh, cool. Nice, very nice. Steve, you're getting into some good stuff. We're going to tell you about a little bit of a movie we both saw. We'll talk about it briefly. We're not going to do an episode on it. We already decided. And Aaron says, what's up, suckers? What up, Aaron B? Man, appreciate you being here, brother. But Steve, so we watched, it just premiered on HBO Max. If you're a fan of the director.
And it's going to come out tomorrow, I saw too. HBO.
Yeah, if you're a fan of the director Guillermo del Toro, who did Pan's Labyrinth, Hellboy 1 and 2,
Blade 2,
The
Orphanage,
Shape of Water, which he won the Oscar for. Great Mexican director Guillermo del Toro. His creatures always look amazing. But his newest movie, Nightmare Alley, just came out on HBO Max, and we both watched it, not together but separately, and we both were like.
So, you know what? Thinking about it more and more, because I had time to process it, I think I actually liked it more and more as I was thinking about it more and more. And I sort of kind of like was getting the story kind of slowly again, kind of processing it again. It's a slow movie. It's 2.5 hours movie. It is a slow movie, but it is an interesting story. And after thinking about it more and more, it does kind of fit his stuff, too. There's not really like grotesque creatures or anything like that, but you know what? More and more, I was kind of like, damn, that was a pretty good story. That was a pretty interesting story. The usual kind of, scam artists get scammed, kind of deal. The ending is kind of like threw me off big time. Like, that's kind of what I've been thinking about like, the whole time. It's kind of like, oh, wow. Ooh, like, I was like, even after everything that he did, I was like, could I commit myself to that fate? Even if I deserved it, I was kind of like, oof.
Yeah.
I was kind of, it burned in my head for a while. I was thinking about it all day today while I was riding my forklift at work today.
So I
was like, ooh.
I texted with Double A afterwards about it, and I was like, hey, did you watch it yet? Or did you text me? And then I said, hey, explain this, because, I watched it with my girlfriend, Jess, and both were like kind of left like feeling like how Double A said, like, I don't know. And then something he explained out of the movie, I was like, oh, well, that helps clear up a lot.
It kind of does. And then, like I said, it was just kind of like burning. There was like stuff burning. Because, I'm always fascinated by it kind of sits like in the 20s, kind of like carnival. And it's like that carnival you always hear about, the freaks and everything kind of like that. So I've always kind of been interested in that. My wife says I would love that American Horror Story carnival or whatever. But I've always been fascinated with that whole aspect, just it's a big con artist and how they do to survive and everything. So It's kind of interesting. It was an interesting movie. If you're interested in Guillermo del Toro, it is a 2.5-hour movie, but it stars Bradley Cooper. It stars Kate Blanchett,
Tony Collette, Willem Dafoe.
What's her
great
name?
Cast.
What Mora? What Rooney is it?
Rooney Mara.
Mora Rooney.
Rooney. Yeah. She's the one from Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So she's great in it also. And Bradley Cooper. It's very well acted and it looks beautiful. It looks stunning.
Yeah.
So to look at, it's a feast for the eyes.
If you're into kind of like those slow burn movies, I think that would be up. Most alley. That's kind of like my brother's alley. He loves those kind of like slow burn. He loves like this will be blood.
There will be blood. Yeah. Which is another slow burn. That one's really great. So I actually listened to Mark Maron's podcast before I saw the movie, and he interviewed Del Toro.
Aaron, hold on. Aaron, it's Nightmare Alley.
Nightmare Alley
on HBO Max.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
That's okay. And they were really both going into how it's a noir film. That's really what it is.
Yes,
they said, it's got that. I was like, when I watched it, I was
that's
like,
what I'm saying. Like when I started marinating it in my head, when I was thinking about it, I was kind of like, okay. I think it was gripping me more and more as I was thinking about it.
I spent my week listening to a lot of great Mark Maron episodes. He gets great guests to interview, and he's a really good podcaster, although I disagree with a lot of his opinions on certain things. He pisses me off. But
well, I mean, you got to, right?
Yeah. But he's a good interviewer, and he had some good people on. And that was one of the ones I heard because I love that he just recently got a bunch of good directors. He just did Ridley Scott. I heard that one. It was great.
Nice.
He had Clooney on recently. He had I don't know if these are recent or they're just bunched in there, but they were really good. But yeah, so apparently they just re-released it in theaters. Did you hear about this? The black and white version of the Nightmare Alley.
Yes, but I don't know how I would feel like black and white because it's like you said. It looks great.
Yeah.
Color. I don't know how I feel about seeing it in black and white. It's kind of like
I think maybe knowing that it's a noir, and it's so funny what we and you were saying last night because that was Mark Maron's thoughts, and I thought that I was like, oh, I see what he meant now. When it ended, I was like, he was like, I wouldn't watch it again, like because he goes, you don't feel good at the end, and I was like, I don't. And you did not feel good at the end.
My brother after I was texting you, I texted that to my brother. I was like, it's kind of slow, but I go, it's a very depressing movie just because of that ending, how it made me feel. And then I was like, it kind of shook me more and more as I thought about it. Because once you see the movie, if you do see the movie and you see the role that he's going to accept that, for his fate, then you're going to be like, oh, yeah, shit.
We have our movies like that, right? Like there's one I like with with Matt Dillon. It's called Factotum. It's based on one of the Charles Bukowski characters, Charles Chinaski. It is extremely depressing. What's the other one? Requiem for a Dream.
Requiem.
You're never you feel like watching Requiem for a Dream? You don't feel like watching that movie. You could even throw in There Will Be Blood in that category.
For me, it's like Less Than Zero. I think that's like
I love The Fountain. Do you like The Fountain?
It's good.
But it's a downer. It's like a fucking bummer. I'm like, I have to like just be in a mood
and
for
TCM, that's my problem with Logan. That's my problem with Logan. I'm like, I can't see that movie.
I have watched it like 4 or 5 times, but I haven't watched it in a while. I haven't watched it in a while. Yeah, I get you. I get you for sure.
And then one more, The Road. That one is super fucking depressing. It was Viggo Mortensen.
I saw that one.
Movie is super fucking depressing.
Very dark. Ooh. It was like the post-apocalyptic world of The Walking Dead without the zombies, and I was just like, man, this is bleak as fuck.
Yeah,
I was like, fuck, it's pretty down. So yeah, so that's that. What else? Double A? Anything else? I'm not caught up on Peacemaker. I missed this week's.
Guys, if you're not watching Peacemaker, that show is fucking great. That's like the perfect vehicle for John Cena. He's never going to be like where The Rock's at right now, but man, this is perfect for him. This is just fucking funny. It's rated R, a hard rated R.
Oh, yeah.
There's sex, violence, brutal violence, language. I mean, man.
Rock and roll.
Rock and roll. He's a big 80s hair metal fan. I mean, it's.
Don't you get the vibe?
Funny.
Oh, wait, speaking of depression movies, about who I'm about to bring up, The Wrestler.
Jeez.
But don't you get the vibe that the Peacemaker and Randy the Ram would get along great? I think they would be best fucking friends.
Yeah, they would.
Aaron B, man, if you're checking out stuff on HBO Max or any of you guys out there, check out just one episode of the Peacemaker.
You'll get sucked in quick.
It's so funny.
You don't need to know anything about the history. I don't know anything about the dude's history whatsoever.
Yeah.
I don't know any of that, and I enjoy this like fucking crazy. I told CM in a text, I was like, James Gunn is a master at making me like these fucking sorry ass hard D characters. I don't know how many characters I fell in love with because of James Gunn.
Mm-hmm.
I bought in first appearances because of James Gunn that I've never even heard of.
I was this close to buying Peacemaker. Well, not his first appearance, but his number one.
Yeah,
a guy had it at the comic
and you know what? Now Garth Ennis is writing. CM showed me Garth Ennis is writing Peacemaker issue 1, and I was like, wow, okay.
And Garth Ennis is like the James Gunn and Quentin Tarantino of comics.
And you know what? Peacemaker may actually be right up his alley.
Mm-hmm.
You know, after seeing what we see in him in Suicide Squad and this show, that might be actually right up his alley. So
I think so for sure. Let's see. Steve says Downer movies leaving Las Vegas. God, definitely, Steve.
Damn.
And I love that movie. But man, I gotta go like
brutal.
In fact, I may be due for a viewing because I haven't seen it probably like 3 or 4 years.
I can't tell.
As I really wait to watch it. But the acting is incredible, man. I mean, like Nicolas Cage at his absolute finest.
His Oscar-winning one.
Yeah, and Elizabeth Shue is great. The music, that movie is just a beautiful movie. But boy, is it fucking depressing. Great pull, Steve. Great pull. The Book of Boba Fett. Obviously, everyone's talking about it. We're gonna cover it probably.
So
really
real quick. Star Wars fans, have we always said, suck. They're the worst fans ever. They're like Philadelphia fans for their sports teams.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody like just criticizes. Once it's like Mandalorian, it's like, oh man, that's the greatest Star Wars piece ever. You know, we get to Boba Fett, and it's kind of like everyone's pissing all over it. I think it's good. It feels like it's a Star Wars Tales now more than anything, more than a Boba Fett show. I like it. I'm enjoying it. I always enjoy going back to the Star
You were enjoying it before the last 2 episodes.
Yeah. So
the last 2 episodes were incredibly enjoyable for anybody, but I did a bad thing maybe. So I sat down my mom, my girlfriend, and showed them the last 2 episodes only. I was like, hey, you guys remember the end of, the last season of The Mandalorian? They said yes. They were like, yeah. Why does something happen? I said, let me show you these 2. So we watched it all together. And of course, my nephew sat and watched this too. He loved it. I mean, there's nothing not to love about the last 2 episodes. They were amazing.
And I can't wait for the finale because it looks like it's going to be a full-blown war. So,
yes, but I agree with you about the first 4. I thought it was fine. I hear Robert Rodriguez is catching a lot of heat. I don't really like that because I'm just like, this guy's a good director, and it's like the story's not done being told, so you're kind of pissing on it before it's finished being told. You know what I mean? Like, see what he's going to do.
It's because everybody wants it now. Everybody wants to see it now. It's like, come on.
And I want to give a shout out to Friday Nighter Rick Martinez, a friend of Mario Delgado's. He had asked if we tried this, and we had not. Trejo Cerveza. I love that it says Nectar of the Mexican Gods. Steve, go out and get you some of this. It's $10 for a 4-pack, which is kind of steep. We have not drank it yet, but we will drink it in a few.
Better than the 20 for 12.
Yeah, in a minute. We got some here. We're going to crack these here, but you guys all know Danny Trejo, man, the icon, Mexican icon, man, the big chata on his chest. So we can't wait to drink his beer, man, in a minute, and we'll tell you guys all about it. Danny Trejo, if you're out there listening or watching, brother, come be on our show. Come sit here with us, have some cervezas in San Antonio. Jason says, have you all been to Trader's Village? I have not gone in a while.
It's been a long
time. And man, I really wanted to go to. Mario did a show in New Braunfels with
Retromania.
Rick. Retromania. I did not get to go, and I saw Rick was going to work it again in Dripping Springs.
Yes, he is.
Where's Dripping Springs, Cat?
Dripping Springs is a little outside of Austin, not too much, but it's right there. It's not far away at all. And I also saw Rick might be at the show that maybe we might be thinking about going.
Austin.
Yeah, to that Ron Mars one.
Is that the Alamo?
No.
Austin.
That one is in Dallas, actually.
Okay.
Which I was like, oh, wow, Rick's actually going to go up to Dallas. I was like, shit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Nice. Well, let me know. I mean, I'm down to go. You know, of course. Yeah.
Maybe.
And shoot, speaking of Book of Boba Fett, I was like, we could wonder if they're going to release another version of this beer and call it the Rancor Handler. It's not a spoiler anymore, guys. It's been out a couple of weeks, and if you're any kind of Star Wars fan, you've already seen it. But hey, that's how awesome Robert Rodriguez is that he finally put Machete in space as he promised. Danny Trejo in Book of Boba Fett, part of Star Wars lore. I cannot wait to get the action figure of him. Now they make every freaking Star Wars character, so very, very cool. But yeah, Steve, we'll let you know what we think of it in a minute here when we try it. I think that's about it, right? Double A. Is there anything else, really?
Yeah, real quick. Rizzo says, "What's up, my brothers?
What is up, Riz? Happy birthday to your wife, daughter. Happy birthday to them. I know you're celebrating, and you might not be in it. You might be in and out. About to hit the game room. Just wanted to pop in and say, sweep the leg. Yes, Definitely, Riz. We appreciate your support, brother.
Give it a test.
Nice. All right, Double A, what do you think? Should we get into this convo we've been dying to have for right out? You were going to have us skip our Hawkeye episode. You were so pumped up to talk about it, and then everything got all screwed up, and we were like, if we do Hawkeye any later, it won't make sense. And so the last time we were together was talking Hawkeye when we were in the same room. Then we did what did we do virtually? No, we did Hawkeye virtually.
Yes.
Yeah. But we were supposed to do that obviously together, and before that, and then we knew the next week, Cobra Kai was gonna premiere. I mean, like, we're going back to Christmas time, guys. We're in February now, and this is how bad our schedule got thrown off by Omicron and Unicron and Galvatron and all the damn Trons. Decepticons. But alas, out of it, we got 2 great episodes with NWA Wrestling and Dragon Ball Z. Excuse me. Then we got to test virtual reality, so we know that we can do it should we need to. You know what I mean? Again, we hope not for any reason, unless one of us is like maybe in Las Vegas or some shit fun like that. In which case you should be having fun and not podcasting. But if there's an event that calls for that, we know that we can do it now. I know I froze for a little bit that week. You know what I was listening to? I was listening back to one of our old episodes. I think we were talking about, it might have been No Way Home, and I was talking about J.K. Simmons, and I was talking about him being in the movie Sideways, which it wasn't. He wasn't in Sideways. He was in Whiplash. That's the one that's
the drumming one.
Yeah, the drumming one. Is it Whiplash?
With Miles Teller.
Yeah, with Miles Teller. Yeah, that's what he's in. And I was thinking of, my mind was thinking about Sandman, who plays Sandman.
With Paul Giamatti.
Yeah.
Thomas Hayden Church.
They're in Sideways together. So my lines got crossed, and I was like, nobody corrected me.
I've never seen Sideways. I thought it was boring. So I just took CM's mentioning that J.K. Simmons was in there.
So, I know it's about wine, but so what are you going to do, right? Steve says...
all the crons.
Yeah, exactly, man. Exactly. Steve, you had a great political cartoon he put up today, which he said, the cartoon said, I wish people cared as much about us not wearing masks as they do about gun. I wish people in schools cared as much about guns in schools as they do about us not wearing masks. And I was like, yeah, that's a great point. So I screwed it up, but you know what? I was going there with Steve paraphrasing. But alas, Double A, now is the time has come. We've been wanting to have this conversation. We were texting each other, and we both got done like in the first week. How fast did you watch it?
2 days.
Yeah, it took me about 2 days.
And only 2 days because we had to do so many visits on New Year's Eve, New Year's Day. So because it premiered on New Year's Day, the first Cobra Kai season 4 on Netflix, guys. That's what we're talking about today. It dropped all at once. It's still hot. It's actually still pretty damn hot.
Yeah. So tonight we're calling it the Bonsai, the Eagle, and the Cobra. If you watched it, you know that they definitely focused on 3 dojos, not 2. And man, it was just as good as the other 3. I mean, they got full steam ahead. Am I right, Double? I'm like, man, they're not slowing down. These writers are really something. They're
really good, and they know where to go. They know not to go too far, and they know not to go, too cheesy either.
Yeah.
So this whole season, like really redeemed the Terry Silver character. Because if you ever seen the Karate Kid Part 3, he's your classic over the top 80s villain. Mm-hmm. Just really over the top. And here, man, he just took it to another level. This was the Terry Silver that should have been Part 3, and it was fantastic. Everyone was fantastic in this show, in this season. So,
yeah, really, really good. I know that for a long time that the Karate Kid Part 3 was kind of lauded as
it's considered the black sheep.
Yeah. But then I kind of feel like when next Karate Kid came out, people hated that one even worse, and they hated that one. Yeah. But man, this is how great these Cobra Kai writers are. They're able to kind of put a great spin on things and make you be like, oh, okay, you know what I mean? Yeah. And so guys, in our little circle of podcasters, we're not the first to cover this. If you got a chance to listen and now watch this with Lucky and Joe, they covered Cobra Kai season 4. In their format, which was cool because they actually watched something. So they watched the first episode and the last 2, and they had a great guest, frequenter of our show too, Chris Rizzo. He was on their show, and it was a really great episode. I think we're going to have a little different lean than them, though, from what I know of Double A and from my own T-shirt, obviously. But they had a very specific lean in their episode. It's very good. I highly suggest you go check it out so you can hear 2 opposing sides on two different podcasts from two groups of guys both here in San Antonio and what we thought. So plus again, their formats see how they watch along. Yeah, like Double A said, man, Terry Silver is back. If you heard me read my comment earlier from Jerry D, and obviously Rizzo, mentioning Sweep the Leg, but you didn't think this character could come back and be any good, right? Double A. And what does he say? How does he explain it away? Oh, I was on a bunch of cocaine.
Yeah, a bunch of cocaine, and then he's like, I'm a billionaire that went to terrorize a kid for an all under 18 tournament. You know what I mean? It sounds ridiculous when you say it like that.
Yeah, when he's Terrence, right? Double A. I love that.
But man, they did such a great job, because even he was kind of like, I read interviews where even he was like, man, can this work? I mean,
yeah,
Karate Kid's not really up there like as a classic. I
don't even think this guy was really like on the con circuit or anything, right? He just was like, I think that movie was lauded as being bad, and
it's just considered bad. Like Ralph Macchio still hates the movie. He still says it's terrible. That there's nothing new about Karate Kid Part 3. A lot of good elements that they might be bringing in season 5 that I'm really excited for. I really do hope they bring back Mike Barnes.
Yeah.
Because that dude, he did beat the shit out of Daniel.
And he was, I thought he was a pretty good, bad guy or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, I don't remember hating that movie because I felt like it was in the vein of the other movies.
After I saw it, but yeah, there's a lot of cheese to it.
Yeah,
there is. But I mean, it's more of a sequel to Part 1 than it is Part 2.
Yeah,
big time.
Right.
So,
in your house, you're watching it with your wife and your daughter, right? So for me, my girlfriend's not watching it. She wasn't. I couldn't get her to watch any of the Cobra Kai's, but she's been in the room a lot when it's on. My sister's not into it either, but again, she's in the room a lot. But my mom and dad are watching it, and they love it. So we're all caught up. But I don't get to chop things up with them like I do with you. But it's funny because one of my criticisms of my sister and my girlfriend when they hear it on, they're like, and the dialogue's kind of cheesy, and I'm like, there is some teeny qualities to it, but like you said, they do a great job of not going too far, and then they have like this real heavy dose of realism.
Like the Karate Kid franchise has always been kind of met with kind of like laughter, unless you're actually there during that time period where you can say, yeah, it's a classic for me.
Yeah,
but for a long time, I mean, the Karate Kid, even Ralph Macchio would not talk about the Karate Kid franchise for a long fucking time.
Yeah,
I'm actually surprised when he did agree to do Cobra Kai. I mean, he just tried staying far away from Karate Kid as much as he could. I mean, but it's there. It has its fan base, and it just you just got to go with it. You don't expect anything fucking smart. I mean,
it feels to me almost like Saved by the Bell meets something. But again, since it's on Netflix, it's like,
but it hits you too, especially if you have kids because of the kids' storylines. And it really hits hard. And Johnny is trying to make a comeback. Daniel is trying to be a good role model. Chris is trying to find something that he lost.
Yeah.
They're all trying to find something that they all lost and trying to get it back.
And that's the older characters' perspectives. But let's think about the Robbie story with the dad thing, the story with Tori and the mom thing. Yeah. It's like these are also very relatable stories.
And my favorite character, Miguel.
Yes, absolutely. Love Miguel. And just another huge part of Karate Kid or whatever is a thing that's, been around since the first one. It's like the whole bullying aspect and the not fitting in aspect, the being the people like to say fish out of water or stranger in a strange land. I can certainly relate to that because I was military, my dad, we moved around. I was always somewhere new from me being, at Rogers Middle School with your big brother who was like, great. My big cousin's here to watch my back. Well, boom, next year he's out. He goes to high school. I'm there. I have a few friends, but then in the middle of that school year, I got to get transferred out because we're in the wrong district to another school. That's where I end up in the East Central district. And thankfully, we've had Friday Night or Holtzy Bear out here. He'll tell you, our years at middle school, we did not like each other. We hated each other. I thought he was a jerk, and he thought I was, I guess, a punk. You know what I mean? And it wasn't until our first day of high school that we became friends. But up until then, it was like I didn't care for that guy, and I was just again a fish out of water, stranger in a strange land. And I'm sure you've had something like that, a new job, whatever it is. It's like, what am I doing here? Who are these people?
But usually I always become the lead Cobra and take over.
There you go. See? Strike first, strike hard, no mercy. Rich says, such a great show. I like it. Good season. I think Karate Kid is definitely a classic. When you hear wax on, wax off.
More and more is starting to get to
You know
it,
where
but
it's
for
from.
a long time, it's kind of like a lot of, I don't know, it was a weird time during the 90s. Yeah, I mean, it was like movies like The Lost Boys were getting laughed at. Karate Kid was kind of getting laughed at. I don't know if you ever really experienced some of that stuff.
I do
a lot
remember
of those
some of
80s
that.
movies were considered like so fucking campy, you know, like laughable, you know, and so it's kind of like, wow, it's weird. And then all of a sudden, like these movies started getting kind of like a resurgence almost, like where they were called instant classics now, like they were reviewed now, like with fresher eyes, and they're like, I don't know what this generation was talking about, but this is actually really good.
What's funny is that I think what happened, Double A, is that the guys that were like our age then that liked those movies grew up and got those jobs in Hollywood, and they're like, hey, we're gonna write the shit we want to write. And these guys are doing an outstanding job. It's amazing. Yeah, I guess they are twisties, right? And so here we go. In honor of Johnny Lawrence himself, what you always see Johnny drinking on Cobra Kai, some Coors, regular Coors Banquet is what they call it, as Coors Banquet, and it's in the little bottle. Can you do the bottle flip thing like he does, Double A? I don't think I can do it. There we go. I just hit the screen, which probably isn't good for our computing there. No. Probably not good for our podcasting, but does it have a little quote in there?
Be proud of doing it your own way. All right.
There you go. All right, guys. So I got some notes here. I wrote hella notes since we had a whole week off, and I did a rewatch. So one of the things that I wrote down, my first kind of note here, Double A, and I think this is a good way to do this instead of going episode by episode. We're kind of just talking points.
Yeah.
So I found that Johnny was pretty stubborn throughout. He hated LaRusso's ways because they were kind of LaRusso, not because they were right or wrong, just because it was him.
It's pretty established. There's always going to be that hatred between them two. There can be respect, but there's always going to be that hatred. They just have that deep fucking rivalry, you know, that they just can't stand each other.
Yeah.
You know, he thinks LaRusso's narcissistic. And LaRusso thinks the same thing of Johnny. You know? Right. And they both think they're stubborn. They both think their way is the best way. You know?
Yeah. I'm going to click this real quick, guys, because, again, the sound in my headphones is just not suiting me. So I'm going to hit this real quick. You guys out there, let me know if I sound any different once I do that. How are we sounding now? Anybody out there can tell me if we're sounding good or not?
Okay.
Yeah. In my headphones, I sound the same, but I'm trying to see if I sound better to you guys out there. Let me know. Sorry, it's driving me nuts that I felt like I couldn't hear myself. But maybe it doesn't matter. Let me see. I'm going to try one more thing, and you guys let me know if it sounds different or not. Sorry, guys. Again, I just really feel like I can't hear myself. No? Okay.
I can hear it fine.
Yeah, Double A says we sound fine. Maybe it's just me. So I'm going to leave things back as they were and close that out. But it was just
Rich says sounds good.
Rich says sounds good. Okay, I'm just going to turn myself up then. Maybe I feel a little bit better with maybe it's the higher.
Do it.
But okay. So yeah. So no difference. Okay, thank you, Rich. I appreciate that, brother. Yeah. So agree. It was just like, you know, it just seemed like Johnny. Because it's Danny. He's not having it.
So what I was hoping for, this is what I was going in before I started seeing, was I was hoping that Danny was going to be the teacher of defense and Johnny was going to be the teacher of offense.
I wrote that down. That would have been such a great plan. I have that note.
I thought that's what they were going to establish, was that, you know what, Johnny knows the fucking more of the offense.
My fourth note, guys, it says should have been offense/defense. They should have taught that way. I put separating dojos was foolish.
It was fucking stupid. I was like, wow, you're supposed to be working together, and now you just pretty much threw Johnny's, you know, to the side, but you're still there. But I was like, man, I thought that's what they were going to do. I thought they were going to do G.I. Joe. Mm-hmm. Remember G.I. Joe, Snake Eyes had different masters, different senseis, different, you know, shit. And I thought that's what they were going to do. You know, because Daniel's defense is pretty damn good. And Johnny's offense is, you know, gets them through.
Pretty damn good, too.
I was like, man, if they combine those two fucking dojos like that, I was like, damn. That's going to be hard to beat.
Absolutely. Let's see. Rich has a comment here. Rich says, even with them working together, they're always going to clash. Right. I think that Johnny is not over the loss.
He's not.
You know, he never, even though he's come so far since the show started, you know, when he was really hurting to now, you know, he trains this great student in Miguel. And it's funny because I told Double A, I was like, you know, I was talking to Double A's wife too. I said, I had to buy this shirt because I got so into Cobra Kai, which I never thought as a kid that I would love, that I bought a Cobra Kai shirt from when we did our first episode on Cobra Kai. And I was like, yeah, because I'm thinking of Johnny's version of Cobra Kai. You know, because he went to kind of having a class full of nerds too, right? And he was kind of training the kids that were getting punked. And then it's like now Cobra Kai has reverted back to what it was originally, which is the bullies,
the athletes, the bullies.
Right, right. I super hate that one kid. You know, the I have his name written down here, but I can't stand him. He's talking about Kyler. Kyler, yeah, I do. Yes,
I fucking hate that dude. He's so annoying. I loved it when Miguel beat the shit out of him. Hell yeah, at Daniel's house. I
love when Robbie beat his ass too.
Yeah, and I liked when Hawk beat the shit out of his friend.
Yes.
And they looked at him like, fuck you.
Another note I have here again, and my notes are kind of all over, and it's just kind of as I was watching through the episode, some things I thought. I love Tori, man.
Oh,
such a great character.
I fucking love her character. I liked her since even before, like in season 2.
Yeah.
I thought she's been great. Peyton... Liz or whatever her name is, Peyton something. She's fantastic. I love the Tori character. She's probably my where would I rank her? Because Miguel's always going to be my number one.
I got you.
Miguel's my fucking he's the character that I like.
Yes.
You know, we have our characters that we all seem to like. You know, my brother has the bad guys. You have kind of like those guys, the redemption story guys.
Yeah.
You know,
totally. I love
the guys who are just like good. Just pure good, and are just trying to better themselves. So that's Miguel. But
Peyton List.
Yeah,
like I took a list.
Maybe she's like my number 2 or number 3 favorite character.
Yeah,
I mean, she's just a badass.
She's gorgeous. She's badass, and like I think for a while you get like the bully vibe from her, but as her story starts to unravel, you see there's a lot there, but about why she is the way she is.
Man, the way they flesh it out too. Her whole backstory, everything. It's kind of like, man, that's awesome.
That's what this show does a great job of too, right? Double A. It's like you love people, or you hate people, or you love them, but then you find their flaws.
Like, who would have thought? Like, I would have cared about a Kreese origin. And
right,
when they did it, I was like,
how cool is that?
Oh, man, that's fucking awesome. I love his origin story. I didn't ask for it, but I loved it. Yeah. That was fucking awesome.
Absolutely. Let's see here. We got some comments in here, guys. We want to take a look at these or read them for you. It says this one's from one of our Facebook users. Again, if you're
that might be Steve, because he's the one that mentioned it.
Yeah, if you're watching us through the group on Facebook, guys, at the end of your comment, please put your name, or the beginning of your comment, please put your name, because all I see on our StreamYard that we're using here to podcast, it says just Facebook user. That's only if you're coming through the group, though, that I see it that way. Gargoyles, not the movie. I remembered. Big Time C movie, not good. Somebody says there.
That has to be Steve.
Who is that?
Steve said he was watching that.
I don't know. Maybe that was. Steve usually watches us through the thing, but I don't know. Then Rich goes on to say he is never going to forget the past. I think Johnny will always be the bad guy you still want to root for, though. Especially now. I think especially Cobra Kai, because I never thought I would give a damn about Johnny Lawrence. And then I'm watching this season 1, and I'm like laughing, and I'm like, okay, this guy's kind of like a lovable loser. You know what I mean? The next, this might be Steve. It says. It's the Killer Shrew. Looks like another CD movie. Great job, Steve, if that is you watching. I don't know why. Maybe you switched formats to where you're watching us from, Steve, but I'm not seeing the name now, but that's great on the Killer of the Shrews. The Killer Shrews. Rich says, yeah, Miguel is my favorite too, and then Hawk.
Oh, man.
Love Hawk.
Arc. The Hawk arc.
Great.
Was fucking awesome.
And here's a guy who I thought I was immediately going to love with Hawk, right? A nerd guy, video game guy, and, getting bullied. Then he becomes the ultimate bully himself. Like, he got so drunk on the damn power that, and now we get Hawk reverting in this season where, he gets his power stripped away by Cobra Kai, the Mohawk.
Real bad.
But at the same time, rebuilding his stuff with Moon. Yep. I liked that a lot.
With Moon and Dimitri.
And yes, and that too. And, Dimitri, for the dorky character he is, I relate to him a lot because he's so into the stuff we're into. And again, I feel too like he's gained a little bit of, what he's getting most out of karate is confidence. Because look at him with, what's her name? Is her name Jessica? Man, he calls her Jessica Rabbit, but
I forget her fucking name.
She was like the main fox from the first season, and here Dimitri is with her in his Pac-Man suit. You know what I mean? I love that. It's so hilarious. Plus, he's always the voice of reason too, and he's like, "You're gonna have us do what? Like, this is so dangerous." I love the Rocky 3 reference Miguel uses on Johnny. He says, when Apollo and Rocky work together, and of course Johnny's saying, "Why do I got to be Apollo?"
Yeah, what I gotta do.
And then he goes, "Because he's more badass," which is an easy way to get to. that arc, right? Double A, Miguel and Johnny's arc, like it was hurting my feelings. I was like, come on, you guys, like I'm like, come on, Johnny, like I felt like there was a conversation that needed to be had between Miguel and Johnny that was like, hey man, like this is my girlfriend's dad, like he never once says that, and I'm like, dude, like I'm trying to, you're always talking about chicks and being badass, and like, like I really did not like the advice, that Johnny was giving him towards the end when he was like, hey, blah blah, you're not here for that, you're here for your dojo. I'm like, man, it's like the super selfishness is coming out. And I'm like, yeah, that's his chick. That's his, like Elizabeth Shue. That's, I'm like, come on, man. Like,
at first I was pissed off with Miguel at the end, but then I understood where he was coming from. Yeah. I was kind of like, okay, you know what? This kid's, it's not supposed to be a pawn. He's a sensitive kid. Deep down.
I love that he had the sense to know that too. Yes. I love what he tells Samantha, when he says, I don't really feel like I'm fighting for me anymore.
Yeah, and it's not.
And, again, this show did a great job, right, of building up that dramatic moment, right, Double A, where we thought he's going to come out, And it's funny because I think on the Now Watch This pod, they were saying, man, we thought that, LaRusso was going to go back there and do the Miyagi thing on him. And, I mean, I kind of thought that too. But, again, that didn't happen. I guess he figured, he's like, hey, he's not my...
I'm glad because it was perfect. Again, as I started thinking about it more, as I let it marinate in my head, I was kind of like, in season 1, Miguel wanted to learn because he wanted to better himself. He wanted to have more confidence. Mm-hmm. All that stuff. Defend himself. Blah, blah, blah. By season 4, he's not even doing that anymore. He's not doing that for anything. He's not trying to get students to help Johnny. He's not doing anything. He's fighting someone else's battle for this big battle that he doesn't even care about. You know? Right. He just wants to, learn karate, take the lessons, but he doesn't want to fight for like a purpose, for that purpose, not for, if we win, you got to get out, and we're all depending on you. You're my A student. You got to do it so we can get the fuck out. We can throw COBRA KAI out. Yeah. That's not what Miguel wanted to do.
No, and I love that what he was kind of finding with learning Miyagi-Do with Daniel was that he was kind of finding peace.
He was.
He was like, oh, wow, this is another way. This is even, I love the scene with the music, and he's like, oh, I didn't know that there was other 80s music, like Christopher Cross,
Chicago,
Chicago, which, my dad's a big Chicago fan. And like, we've talked about this ourselves, right? How like some things we were kind of kept from us or whatever, because we grew up listening to like one thing. And then it took us to kind of go out on our own or talk with someone else, hang with someone else and be like, oh, damn, this is good music too, or a good movie too. Or
like I said, for a longest time, I was taught to be like Prince sucked ass. It wasn't until my wife, who's like the biggest Prince fan you'll ever meet, and I started listening to Prince. I was like, man, this guy ain't really that bad. I was like, his music's actually pretty damn good.
Yeah,
and it's stuff like that you just kind of have to find out on your own.
And watch him play My Guitar Gently Weeps on YouTube, and you will be like, this man is a fucking icon of guitar.
So it's stuff like that. It's just kind of like but it's. I agreed with Miguel at the end.
Yeah.
And I'm glad he made that decision to be like, you know what, this ain't my fight. I don't want it. And I'm not going to fight for someone else,
Yeah.
So I loved it. I loved when he made that decision.
I wrote down here that I always liked her, but more so this is like her best season is Samantha LaRusso.
It was perfect.
Really comes into her own.
Where Miguel needed Daniel, it showed she really needed
Johnny. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I love that side of her was coming out, like this rebellious side, this kind of like, even her telling, Daniel, well, maybe your way isn't my way. Like, I need to find my own way. I'm like, yeah, man, like, Daniel had his stubborn moments too.
Yeah.
Especially when it came to his family.
Robbie.
Oh, yeah.
Man. Mm-hmm. How many times did he fucking throw Robbie out?
Yeah. Or what about when he first told Hawk? Like, when Hawk was feeling down, he kind of tells...
That was like fucking brutal.
That was a fucked up
you burned every bridge you had.
Yeah.
It was like, what do you expect? I was like, damn.
Which, this is another thing that I think this show does really well, Double A, where is that, like, it shows that adults are human. Yeah, you're a parent. Yeah, you're a dad. Yeah, you're this. But you know what? You get angry too. You make mistakes. You say things out of turn. And he realized that he was wrong right away, but it was kind of like he couldn't fix it.
You really, because when someone's really angry, that's when you really speak the truth. And
it's
kind of like, oh shit.
And he needs to realize too that these kids are sensitive. They're kids. You know what I mean? Like, how would you have felt Miyagi never snapped at him like that.
He never did.
And he would have been crushed.
Yeah.
He would have been crushed.
Yeah.
You know. So but I do love Sam.
Sam was awesome.
Angry, aggressive.
But it's kind of like she found herself too when she started studying under Johnny.
Mm-hmm.
It's like she kind of became more of a complete person too, almost. I love, like I said, when she was learning under Johnny, she was like, "Wow, this is really badass."
Yeah.
I feel like she actually gained more confidence to go up against Tori, to be like, you know what, I can take your ass now.
Right.
Right. I'm not scared of you anymore because of what Johnny taught me.
Yeah, Johnny showed her exactly that you don't have to be afraid. You can hit first. You know, I love hearing what Rich says. He says, "So would you compare Miguel to Johnny or LaRusso?"
See, that's the thing that's hard because season 1, it was really at the end he was like really becoming like Johnny.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was like, man, he's kind of becoming brutal by that tournament stage.
Yeah.
He's like, oh shit, he really became like a Johnny.
Mm-hmm.
But more and more, he's more Daniel. He's a Daniel.
I think so too.
But he needs that Johnny. He does need that Johnny figure though, more than I would say a Daniel figure.
Interesting. That's an interesting thought there.
It kind of keeps him tough. It kind of keeps him like motivated.
Yeah.
Like under Johnny.
Yeah.
Where it feels like if he went to Daniel too much, he would be settled. He'd be okay and maybe let stuff go. Where Johnny kind of tells him like, face up.
Yeah.
Man up. Man up to your situations,
right?
Face them down.
It's interesting because
Daniel's kind of like just shake on it and kind of go your own way,
right? I like the kind of callback to the trick, you know what I mean, in Karate Kid when Daniel dumps water on the Cobra Kais and the thing, and then in this time they set up the Cobra Kais at the baseball field and they could wet them with the sprinklers. Miguel's idea. But I felt like it was very LaRusso-esque.
It was LaRusso, and then when Johnny kind of mentioned it, it kind of made you wonder, like, well,
yeah,
he does seem kind of right too. It's kind of like unless you stood up to these fucking bullies,
right?
Now all you did was just piss them off even more. It's kind of like hitting a fucking snake with a little stick, like boom, boom,
right?
And then you run away. Well, that snake's just gonna be even more pissed off.
But it was a good point though too, what Daniel said, because he's like, "What are you gonna do? Get into another rumble at the thing? Like, damn, these kids are rumbling all the time. It's like someone's gonna end up in fucking jail."
And it's like too because man, they were watching Bloodsport.
I know, and they weren't even supposed to be. They're not this whole time. They're not supposed to be fighting. And how many times are they like fighting before the tournament?
I was like, man, where's the fucking contract at? I was like,
exactly. Richard has a comment here and it says, "She really became the best of both worlds," referring to Samantha. Yeah, she has that LaRusso mentality of a fight when need to, but also she learns that striking first is not bad either. Being aggressive. Yeah, I wrote that down. Angry and aggressive Sam.
When you need to. Mm-hmm. Like where Tori's kind of like always pushing her. When she finally actually stands back up, Tori actually gets kind of like afraid. Like, holy shit.
Yeah.
She's not the same LaRusso
exactly.
That was scared and backing down. She was like, come on, bitch.
Not at all. Yeah, I love that. I love when they finally get their jabs in at each other. One of the things I wrote down here is that I was thinking about again, like I said in the Now Watch This podcast episode, they kind of were pretty heavy handed on Daniel, saying that he didn't he was very stubborn and very much being in his ways, whatever, and that it wasn't giving Johnny a break. But I do have some disagreement with that because look, while Johnny's thinking about calling Daniel shows up. So that means that Daniel came to that conclusion first. He shows up with a sixer. He's like, let's talk about things or whatever.
He tries to be the peacemaker. He really wants to try to fix it with Johnny. Mm-hmm. And you know what? Some of his ways do actually work for some of the students. Like I said, Miguel, it really affects him pretty drastically, being under the tutelage of Daniel. Mm-hmm. And it also, I think, actually helps a lot with Hawk.
Yeah.
To actually break out of his funk by studying under Miyagi-Do.
Yeah. Absolutely.
It's really hard. I mean, obviously Daniel knows more karate than we thought. Obviously, when they show him kicking Kreese's ass finally at the end of season 3, I was like, oh shit, okay. But yeah, it's just like some of his methods. So it's just like he doesn't want him to go full. Like he really should have let Johnny teach the offense.
Yeah,
it really would have helped the dojos out so much more. If he could have just put his pride aside, and the same thing with Johnny, if he could have just let Daniel do his Miyagi-Do stuff, it would have just,
I think that Daniel's fear about the aggression comes from that once you get, like what happened with Hawk initially, once you find out you can hurt people that have been hurting you, you're going to go too far. And this is what when Daniel learned from Miyagi, it was always like, this is like to protect yourself. This is to keep the bullies away from you. But he sees like when Daniel teaches this aggression and this like be badass, it's like damn, these kids might go too far. Like they're at a very age where they're very impressionable. Yes, great. That's exactly what I was looking for. Thank you. Another thing I wrote down, again, kind of in Daniel's favor, is that I wrote down that Daniel put up with a lot of Johnny being, in my opinion, ungrateful, stubborn, and not willing to let go of the past. From him letting him hang out Miyagi-Do, from him letting him, train there, the van. I'm like, damn, man, like this is this man's livelihood and business.
They had a hard rivalry, like a really hard rivalry. And the deleted scenes actually show more. If you actually look at the Karate Kid karate scenes, there's actually like about 3 scenes where they go at it with each other.
Really?
And there's a deep hatred between those two. I mean, there's just a deep fucking hatred.
Oh, yeah.
That's not just going to be, shaken up just after a few meetings.
Yeah.
They may have some similarities, but that hatred's just always going to be there.
I've had bullies from my past that I run into later on in life, whatever, and they're like, "Hey, what's up, bro?" I'm like, "Bro, like, I don't fucking like you." Like, I'm like, I remember.
There you go. That's kind of like Johnny's thing. It's kind of like, man, fuck you.
But he was the bully, though.
I know he was the bully, like, but then it's kind of like Daniel came in, and then everything got ruined, right?
Sure.
In his view,
his perspective,
right.
Yeah, understood.
He comes in, he loses. Kreese turns on him. He leaves Cobra Kai. He loses Ali for sure.
Yes.
So for him, Daniel coming in was kind of like, man, you came in and you ruined everything for me.
Yeah.
Where Daniel was just like, it was kind of like a one and done. It was like that summer, that year, and it was like, okay, I'm done with you. We don't hear about Johnny in part 2.
No.
We don't hear about him in part 3.
Not at all.
So it's kind of like, well, shit, okay, so maybe his hatred isn't as deep as Johnny's.
Right.
Obviously, because Johnny blames it for everything.
Yeah.
Where Daniel was like, no, I beat you at the tournament. I'm good.
Right. Well, his life just continually got better, whereas Johnny's continually got worse.
Yeah, I didn't think about you.
Right. Rich has a question here in the comments. He says, why do you think Daniel is so stubborn?
See, that's the
do
thing.
You think the past hurts him too?
I don't know, because it's so weird, because like after watching the Karate Kids all over again, it's like Sam said, Miyagi never snaps at him once. Like once he never snaps at it. And he's always kind of like, he always has to almost talk him down. Daniel said it's okay. Daniel said, it's all right. You don't have to win all the time. It's kind of like, and you don't know why the fuck Daniel's always been like that. Why he's always so stubborn to.
I think that there's like, he's Italian. There's some hot blood there.
That's what they're trying to
and again, like the being bullied part, like that part.
And that's true, because it's like, man, in 3 movies he got fucking bullied. He got bullied by 5 black belts.
Yeah.
In the second one he gets bullied by Chosen.
Look at what he's had to stand up to, though, and look at how he expresses himself in each moment. When he first encounters Johnny, and he's at the council for the thing, he says he was the worst of the Cobra Kais. When Kreese comes back, Daniel is like, no, this guy is the absolute worst. And when he sees Silver again, he goes on a tear where he's like, no, he at that moment he sets aside what's going on with him and Johnny. They go have a drink at that nice bar, and where Johnny doesn't leave enough money for the beer, which is funny, where he's like, just put it on my tab and give me another one, But I love that, those little moments make for levity, and it's funny. But I love when Daniel's telling him the story about Silver. He's like, look, this is what this guy did to me or whatever. And even Johnny is like, what? Like, that sounds fucking crazy.
No, actually, it's kind of funny, because Johnny is like, what, that's bullshit. They let you skip like the whole time.
Oh, right, yeah. That's his first thought, right?
You go straight to the final. He was like, "What the hell?"
Yes, I agree. Yeah, that was a great. It was a very Johnny Lawrence moment in that right there.
Daniel, I mean, that could be it. For him, Cobra Kai's just always been this fucking terror in his life. That's just like, golly, like these motherfuckers. They keep coming after me, and they keep teaching all these athletes, to use your strength for do whatever you want, to do whatever you want, you know?
And it is like a succession of bullies or whatever, you know what I mean? Like, Kreese taught Johnny, and then, there's also Silver, and it's like, and these guys each in their way, and of course, that's the story of the older movies, is they tormented him in their own way, so he feels like, this ghost from your past is appearing, whatever, and, whereas like kind of in my story where I'm like, oh, these, guys didn't know they were assholes at high school, show up and they're like, hey, what's up, or whatever, it's like, and I'm just like, whatever, you know what I mean? This is different because it's like these guys still have aggression towards him. They still want, they're like kind of like fuck you in a way, Daniel-san, So let's see. Rich says in the comments here, he says, Is it that he didn't learn from Mr. Miyagi? He didn't learn more from Mr. Miyagi in season 3 when he finds the dojo from Mr. Miyagi regarding Daniel. That he didn't learn maybe more.
It's weird because I don't know. It's weird. I mean, it seemed like he found peace finally when he did the dealership, when he met his wife, had the kids, and then it's kind of like when Johnny comes back. That's kind of when all this shit kind of happens to him again.
Right, because it almost seemed like he didn't maybe not necessarily put karate on the back burner, but he was kind of just doing it as like a meditation, and like he was, not really, doing it that much. My next note here I have is about Robbie. So in this one, Robbie is Cobra Kai. He has not been Cobra Kai yet, right? So it's up, because that at first was Johnny's thing. He didn't want nothing to do with his dad, and now we see him. At first, he shows up just to pick up his things, but Kreese, gets in his ear a little bit, yeah. And he's already learned from LaRusso, but he fought on his own because Daniel got mad at him. So he was like without a dojo, but now he's kind of committed, which. I wasn't sure how I felt about that though, because I was kind of like, wait a minute, you're gonna jump in bed with these guys? Like Robbie seems like a smart guy. But he's a character I like a lot.
But you know what? It's because Kreese is telling him stuff that he wants to hear finally. Johnny doesn't do that father shit.
Right.
Daniel, like we said, snaps at him like every fucking little time. He snaps at him and throws Robbie out.
Yeah.
Kreese is telling him, this is your home. You can stay here as long as you want,
It's almost like Daniel still has you're Johnny Lawrence's son, and that's fucked up for him to hold that over him,
And Kreese knows, man, there's a lot of anger in this kid that I can use to my advantage.
Right.
And he knows slowly he's going to get him. And sure enough, he does. How many kids has he done that to already?
Yeah. I do love when Daniel confronts him in the store and he's like, oh, let me guess, you're going to tell me. And he pretty much breaks it down. and I love what he tells him too. He goes, they're not going to get anything out of me. I'm getting something out of them. You know what I mean? And I was like, okay, that makes me feel like Robbie is smart enough to walk the line or whatever with these two. Double A, can you turn it a little bit, the fan, maybe? Yeah, I feel like it's hitting I could see the little mic. Sorry, guys, about the air popping. It's warm in here. Double A's place is a 2-story, so the heat rises. He's got the heat on for his family, obviously. Right there, it went away right when you turned it. So yeah, but did you see the light? The light, on our mic, the light was flickering. I guess it's the loudness is popping when the wind is hitting it. I'm sorry, guys, if you guys are hearing that. But anywho, yeah. So, how did you feel about Robbie being Cobra Kai?
Well, it's funny because it's kind of like you said. He's taking the lessons from Cobra Kai and he's feeling the acceptance from Kreese. But then when he teaches Kenny, it's kind of like he's kind of doing LaRusso almost.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like he's in the middle, but he's taking full advantage of what Kreese is saying, and he's like, you know what, this guy's backing me up. I'm going to back him up. That's kind of like where I found his stance was, kind of like, well, this guy's letting me stay. He's been good to me. I'm going to do my best for this guy.
I think too, Robbie's ultimate goal is to become a champion. So he's like, this dojo is a means to an end. And also,
I don't know that really meant something to him.
No,
it never really seems to be a big deal for him if he wins or not. It's just that he's just good at fighting.
Yeah.
But I don't know that if that would really have made him happy if he won. Yeah, sure, it'd be cool. Yeah. All right, cool. But I don't know. He's kind of like that guy in wrestling. It's like we always talk about. There's guys in wrestling that you don't need a belt.
Yeah.
You're the
like Taker.
Event. You're the main event guy. Yeah, you really don't need that belt to define you.
Interesting. Interesting. Okay,
I liked his progression. I like too how he saw how Kenny was becoming. I want to talk about Kenny a little bit more too.
Yes, yeah,
I liked how he kind of he saw Kenny. He was kind of like, shit, that's not what I wanted. That's not what I wanted to teach him. I didn't want him to go down this road. So it's kind of like a big conflict. It's almost like a Star Wars, right? It's kind of like Emperor, Vader,
it definitely
him, Luke, him being kind of like the Luke.
I wrote down here but this is kind of like my thoughts at the end of episode 1 is I feel like Robbie's warping a little bit, twisting a little bit, but my opinion changes as it goes along.
It changes as it goes.
Yeah. I also wrote down that Miyagi has a really nice piece of California real estate. Where Miyagi-Do was, I was like, that's quite a bit he had there. When they're knocking down that wall, and she's like, he was using this for storage. I was like, storage? How much land are y'all on? That's a big ass piece of real estate. Yeah. What part of California is this again? I was like, holy shit, it's nice. Okay, so those are just kind of my thoughts at the end of episode 1. And again, our thoughts were all over throughout the season. We'll kind of keep it like that. But going into episode 2, the first thing we do is we get to meet Kenny. We talked about him a little bit, right? New character. I liked the fact that they were introducing a new character. How did you feel?
I was kind of hesitant at first because I was like, oh man, now we a new storyline on top of that, and then it's focusing on LaRusso's son too. I was kind of like, I don't like this. I don't like LaRusso's son. Already before this season, I was like, man, I don't like his son.
I especially don't like him after this season.
Even after this season, when I was kind of like, okay, but you know what? Kenny grew on me. I liked Kenny.
Yes,
I liked at the end. What happened?
I agree.
What do you think?
No, I agree. I liked the Kenny character. At first, I kind of too was a little bit hesitant, like, okay, new character, like, where's this going? But again, these writers, AA, they do such a great job of weaving the stories together. Okay, they introduced a new character, black kid, Kenny. Dad's in the military.
And then Army. We find out who the brother is.
We find out who the brother is. So again, you're like, oh, like callback. The brother that beat up Robbie at Juvie, right? So you're like, okay, cool, that character's back. Then you get you bring back in like LaRusso's son or whatever. You're like, oh, okay, like you were kind of just like a side character, but now
real side character. Maybe not even that. I was like, man, he was absent almost all of season 3.
Yeah, but now you're like, oh, it's the same kid, and he's kind of grown up, and he's thinned out, and it's like obviously he'd be a teen of a certain age too. And
they're there. It looks like they're supposed to be in 8th grade.
Right. So, I wrote down there,
he's a nerd, classic nerd. He plays like a version of D&D or whatever that's supposed to be.
Online gaming stuff.
Online gaming, yes. Mm-hmm. He gets bullied almost right away by Anthony LaRusso. Which is a big twist. After everything that Daniel's been through, now Anthony's going to be the bully in this storyline.
Which AA, let's talk about that a little bit. Like, what do you feel about that? Where it's like, here's Mr. the redeemer of bullies, the guy that puts bullies in their place, Daniel LaRusso, Daniel-san, and you raised a bully.
Yeah,
like, man, what a fucking failure! Like, as a dad, in a way,
or didn't raise.
Yeah, because he was
for
focused
the last
on
2 seasons. He's been focused on other stuff.
Although I will say this, you do get a vibe that Anthony LaRusso doesn't want to be that way, but he's in with this crowd of like little bitches.
And anyone who's anyone knows, high school is really different than what real life is.
Yes.
Popularity really matters. Mm-hmm. Being someone really matters. Being in cliques really matters. Now all that shit really does disappear after you graduate. That shit really does go away.
Yeah.
A lot of that shit doesn't matter anymore, but in school it's a really big deal, and for kids, it really feels like life or death.
Yeah. No, it does.
For high school and school. So he's listening to these fucking dudes.
What did you think about them? I was like,
they were fucking sorry.
They couldn't have got better looking kids that are like his influencers. No,
that was actually perfect because I saw so many of them in my high school that looked sorry. Little fucking guys that would talk shit, and have someone bigger behind them.
Yeah.
Covering for them.
Yeah.
It's there. It's there. It's always been there.
Because the primary talker is that
some fucking like blonde curly haired dude.
Blonde curly
kid. The classic talk shit. You gonna listen? You gonna stand up for that?
The instigate. Yeah. And I'm like, what the fuck? You look like a fucking an albino kid or something like that. Not that there's anything against albino kids, but just
like a kid that Johnny would beat up.
Yeah, I was like, what? Like you're the bully in this instance? So that was kind of definitely a weird
and LaRusso,
vibe.
For whatever reason, is like listening to these kids.
Yeah. And what about how they call him Lapusso? I was like, Lapusso. That's a fucking, and they keep telling him break out some of that karate stuff or whatever, and he's obviously not like, he's like, oh,
he didn't study at all, but he tells people that he knows karate.
Yeah, sure. I mean, his dad is kind of known for that, in the valley where they are. So it's like, what are you going to do, right? But yeah, I thought that was an interesting little
and twist. And I loved how it was going because they were really bullying Kenny bad, real bad, making him look stupid, doing stuff to his locker, pretending that there was some chick that he thought, that Kenny liked. Setting him up, taking pictures of him, putting it on social media, the whole bullying shit.
Yeah.
Now that kids have to worry about,
And what was with her too? Because she seemed kind of like she was into both of them. She liked Kenny, or she was just a nice girl.
She's a longtime friend of LaRusso's.
Uh-huh.
But it looked like she was really into Kenny.
Yeah.
okay, and not really into LaRusso like that.
Yeah. At first, I started thinking to myself, like, where are the writers going with this? But then I started thinking to myself, maybe they're just having her written as like a nice girl at the school.
And they
like,
are. That's it.
She remembers old Anthony, and then she's trying to also be polite to this new kid or whatever, but they don't like each other because, you know, and obviously I don't think Kenny had anything against LaRusso. It wasn't until he started fucking with him.
Until they fucked with him.
They created the monster in a sense.
And I loved it at the end.
Oh, yeah. That end was very gratifying. I was like, oh, because what do we say a lot of times, Double A? It's like, oh, this motherfucker just never had his ass beat. Like, once you get your ass beat one time, they're like, oh, I ain't going to do that no more because I know what it's like.
And it kind of shows like where LaRusso kind of wants to keep apologizing to him, but he never does until finally at the end when he sees Kenny at the tournament. Because by this time, Kenny's already, you know, learned the lesson from Robbie, has the full-blown Cobra Kai attitude, and you know, LaRusso tries coming in, tries to apologize to him. He's having none of it. He's like, fuck you. He grabs him by the neck, pushes him to the lockers, and just beats the shit out of him. Yeah. And it's like, you know what? High school is next year. You got a lot of shit coming for you. Yeah. Coming to you.
He gets like the full Cobra Kai vibes. Like, that's like Silver and Kreese. Like, now you got a new dude. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if that kid grows a couple inches and bulks up.
Honestly, I liked it. I liked it a lot because fuck LaRusso. Fuck that, you know, kid. You know, if you're gonna be like that, you know, at school and everything, and you know, hey, that's your fucking penance right there.
And again, it's kind of hard for me, Double A, because I feel like, you know, maybe here's LaRusso, this kid, right? He's kind of a rich kid or whatever. Those are the only maybe kids that were his friends that, you know, he could kind of engage with, and he didn't know any better behavior. You know what I mean? Like you said, Daniel, unfortunately, at this time, isn't kind of focused on him. You know what I mean? So, I mean, again, I'm not saying he didn't get what he deserved. He definitely did. And maybe, I mean, I think we think that maybe Anthony's going to learn a lesson after this. Maybe the next thing is he's like, hey, I want to learn some shit.
Yeah, but we saw there, he doesn't even want to learn that.
Yeah, when he pays the guy to clean the cars.
I was like, man, what a fucking sorry
But he hadn't got his ass beat yet. So now he got an ass whipping on him where he's like, I don't want that to happen again because you can't pay some guy to fight your fights.
Well, you know what? By this point, Kenny's already like 100 lessons over him. So it's going to take Lapuso a lot of.
It sure is. It sure is. And I do feel as though Danny and Amanda LaRusso feel really bad about the fact that, you know, when they get caught pretty much bullying, you know, Kenny, it's like, man, I'm sure that had to be crushing. He's like, fuck,
for Daniel,
I raised the bully. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I mean, how about how when he's punishing him, Double A, he has to tell me no electronics. He's trying to have these little moments with him, and he just can't get through to him, and he's fucking hiding the tablet. I like when Daniel broke that shit over his knee. Boom, and he is like, you know what? You got some shit coming if you don't, you know, straighten up with it. And I was like, hey, maybe he needed to get firm. These kids are fucking kind of soft, you know. Interesting thing there that happens, Double A. Robbie starts teaching Miyagi-Do.
Yes.
Giving the fucking enemy the inside lessons. Now, do you think that it was necessary or could Robbie have just kind of kept this for his own repertoire of moves?
Necessary, because at this point, he's already feels betrayed by Sam. He feels betrayed by Daniel. So he's like, you know what? Fuck them. Fuck the whole Miyagi-Do. Fuck their lessons because they're hypocrites. Yeah. They're telling me one thing, but then they're acting something else. So you know what? Yeah, I'm going to help Kreese out. And I'm going to help these guys become more complete fighters. Yeah. You know, what does Bruce Lee always say? Learn everything. Right. And make up your own style.
Right. And Robbie tells him later, too, right? What does he tell him when Daniel kind of confronts him about, you know, like, oh, I noticed. And he's like, you know, hey, you know what I mean? Like, it's about winning and stuff like that, you know?
Yeah. So I was fine with it.
Okay.
Because obviously that was what supposedly Johnny was going to do with LaRusso, but they never got around to that. Right. Sam is probably the only one that probably had that connection.
And oddly, Hawk.
Because
he's been through both.
But at first he didn't want to use it, though.
Right.
You know?
Right. Again, see, because they get so inundated with what one teacher's telling them.
Yes, that they want to, okay, well, I'm not going to do this anymore.
Only in the end does Daniel get it right when he's like, use mine and Johnny's teachings to Sam or whatever.
That's what you should have been doing.
You know? So what about this? I love this part a lot, and it felt like we're getting somewhere, but it's like when Daniel and Johnny decide to train each other and learn each other's ways. And at first, again, I feel I was a Daniel-san side because I felt like Johnny was being super like, fucking like I'm not gonna learn it or whatever.
Because it's kind of like it's really hard to kind of go through the steps of Miyagi. It's like the painting, the wax on, wax off. It's kind of like what the fuck.
Hey, but what do they say? What do they say? Double A. Anything worth learning isn't going to be easy, right? There's no easy path.
But for Johnny, he's like paint, like
right.
What the fuck? Like what is this?
Yeah.
Like this is how you beat me? Like are you fucking kidding me? Like.
But you know what? You know what I like is that they don't ever really disrespect Miyagi. You don't really see.
No, because Johnny felt what Miyagi did. He kicked their black belt's ass. He kicked 5 black belts by himself.
You never hear him saying like, "Well, fuck that old man" or whatever like that. Nope. He always kind of like has like a moment, and I love that because I also think that it pays a lot of respect to the memory of Pat Morita, and I love that his presence is. It's like he's in the show, even though he isn't. You know what I mean? Which is really cool because unfortunately he's not. He can't be in the show. I'm certain that he would be, but it makes it really neat. That
and I do like when Kreese does take digs. Because it just fits with the movies.
Right. Yeah.
Like for him, he's like, fuck Miyagi.
Yeah.
Fuck that dude.
It's like he doesn't use racial slurs, but you kind of feel like he wants to use them,
Well, that's what Terry does do in Karate Kid 3.
Yeah.
He's like, wow.
Right. Yeah. Wow. And that one. I think now they know they're like, we're not trying to get canceled, so we're not going to go that far, but you ready for some of this Trejo Cerveza Double A?
Let me take this last shot.
Yeah, go right ahead, buddy. All right, y'all. For those of you,
guys, real quick, this Coors Banquet wasn't that bad.
No, not as good as your chelada there, though. Double A.
But this wasn't bad. I'm actually surprised because I've had Coors, regular Coors, and it's pretty shitty.
Again, shout out to Friday Nighter Rick Martinez, big comic book guy. Unfortunate Niners guy, but anyway, he asked us in our group if we had drank this. We hadn't at that point, but we have now, especially now that Danny Trejo is the Rancor handler. He's also a friend of Mario Delgado's, and so we're gonna now taste the nectar of the Mexican gods. Oh yeah, thank you, Double A. So yeah, we're looking forward to this one here. I think it's gonna be pretty good. I don't know about you. Put some ices on my thing here, but. All right, we're cracking open those there. Double A, cheers to you, brother. Well, here we go, and to Cobra Kai season 4. Well, that's good.
Not too bad.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
it's not harsh like I thought it was gonna be.
No, not harsh at all. Not like some other shit we've had on this show. No. You put a little salt and lime on this bad boy, it'd be perfect, man. So yeah, that's great. All right, guys, back to Cobra Kai. So, some other talking points I had here. Double A. Did I lose one page?
Yeah, it's right there.
Oh shit! Let me grab that real quick. Yeah, but let's see. Catch me here. Y'all see my Marvel pants I'm wearing? For those of us watching on Spotify or YouTube. What did you think about them training each other though?
It was funny. Cool part. It was cool, and I think they got a respect for each other's kind of like lessons. It would have been cool if they kind of would show more of that.
Yeah, I wrote down here. I thought it was really cool. I kind of popped when like they were starting to grasp each other's style. Like when you see Daniel get aggressive on the chain finally, when he's like he fucking feels it. Like, hey man, you did something badass, and he's like, yeah, like he gets pretty hype about that. Let's see. We got looks like Big Ken is in the house. He says, yo, Ron, at the same time, I can't watch. Oh man, I had no idea. Ken, our show is called Just Another Friday Night, so we're almost obligated to go on Fridays. But Ken, I do want to say, man, I really, really enjoyed your most recent episode. I got through about the first hour. I was listening at work. I didn't get to hear the whole thing, but it was fantastic, man. Great conversations, great topics. I want to catch your live so that I can send in some questions. Let me fill you guys in, Friday Nighters, Friday Night Faithful who are listening. I reached out to a gentleman that I know makes crawfish. I'm a huge fan of crawfish and crawfish boils. I only recently got into this a couple of years ago. It's like you ever eat a food for the first time recently, then it becomes like your new favorite food. So shout out to my friend Jen, who got me into boils or whatever. But anyway, so I'm in this crawfish group on Facebook, and one of the gentlemen I meet in there is Ken, Mr. Baton Rouge, is what he goes by on Facebook in the crawfish group, and you guys should look him up and definitely taste his crawfish. But he says, I start asking about crawfish for Super Bowl, right? I'm trying to get some crawfish, and then out of the blue, we're talking crawfish, and then he says, "Hey, I subscribe to your podcast," and I was like, "Oh, wow, okay, great, that's awesome." He goes, "Hey, I have a podcast too," and I'm thinking, "Oh, he does podcasts about boiling, you know what I mean, like boiling crawfish, a food podcast." I said, "Oh man, I'll check it out. Sounds great." And I said, "Is it about boiling?" And he says, "No, man, our podcast is just talking shit." And I said, "Oh, it sounds great. We love talking shit. Am I right, Double A?"
Yeah.
So I go find his podcast and I subscribe from my own and from our show to his show, and it's really funny and really hilarious. I believe Ken is from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. He has usually on with one or two guests. I scroll through his episodes, but he's long format like us. Like we're on for like 3 hours. I think his episodes go pretty long too. But it was neat because when I was listening to his, they have people writing in them questions. It's not. They do talk a little bit of pop culture stuff, I think, but it's mainly like everything, like life, man. Like they talk about if you're dating a woman with kids, and if you're, what do you do if you give your baby's mom money and they spend it in the wrong way? I was like, dang, this is interesting. Like I was really into it, so it's really great. Ken also says, facts. My co-host getting me for watching while we on. That's awesome, man. Well, tell him or her we're giving you guys love. Go check out Maybe I'm Tripping with Big Ken. They drink on their show too. They're drinking liquor on their show. Me and Double A, we won't have much of a show if we do that.
Yeah.
So we're just sticking to beers here, Ken. But yeah, definitely go check it out, you guys. You can see it on YouTube. He's only on YouTube, is from what he told me. So whether you watch him live and you want to comment in, or you come back after the fact, you can. It's still entertaining. I had a great time listening, and I plan to go back and listen some more. He says, Ken says he got to go. Ken, I appreciate you being here, man. I'll hopefully see you Sunday for some crawfish, my friend, and you also have a great show. So good sidebar there. I hadn't told you that story yet. I was filling in Double A on some stories. We got some new people in the podcast game that we heard about, some new young guns. We may be doing more with them soon, as well as a gentleman that said he wants to talk about his comic book on our show. So we think that's pretty cool too. Yeah. But guys, we're talking Cobra Kai tonight. Let's get back to some more of the things that I have here to talk about. Like I said, Double A, it was really neat to see Daniel kind of get into his aggressive side, walking across the coals, doing this shit that Johnny's putting him through. But then he realizes, like, fuck, I can still do this. I can climb this chain. I can get, like, it's hyped to get, excited. So then he says, I wanted to get your opinion on, what do you think about Amanda LaRusso this season? She
I loved Amanda.
Comes into her own
Amanda. I loved how she helps Tori out. I love how Tori and her kind of form a bond. I love how she kind of sees her side. I love her. I love Amanda. I think she's been great. She's a great character. She's not annoying at all.
They finally fleshed her out a little, right? She didn't have anything to say up till then.
And I think she's way better than Allie.
Interesting.
Yeah, because Daniel still gives Allie very loving looks. I'm like, man, stay with Amanda. Amanda's so much better.
Love a beautiful brunette, man. Yeah, I love later what she's doing with Tori. It's great. Real quick, the Lazy Cajun is in the house. They say, hey, thanks for that, and then some hearts. Lazy Cajun, thank you so much as well. I appreciate you being here as well, and I think you're on with Big Ken right now, so I hope you guys are having a great show. If you've got pop culture fans there with you, they don't have to watch us live while you guys are doing your show. YouTube. Just tell them send them to us later. You can hear us on Spotify too. We're everywhere. A podcast.
I don't know about
Spotify. Yeah. Oh, I know. Are they in trouble right now? We're not pulling our music. We promise. He had a pretty good apology. I thought it was a good apology. Even Trevor Noah said it was a good apology. So I mean, but
he doesn't even watch what he says.
He
needs to stop saying bad information if it's not right.
And he openly admitted that. He said, I gotta have both sides or whatever, But one of the points he made, Double A, is he goes, I'm just having conversations with these people. They're the ones saying this stuff. You know what I mean?
But when you tell people to take horse tranquilizers, it's kind of stupid.
Trevor Noah said it too. He says the thing about what we do is that when you have an audience like our size, he goes, you can say whatever you want when no one's listening.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Yes. But when people are listening, it's very different.
Yes.
That's it. That'd be a great one for Maybe I'm Tripping. What do you guys that Maybe I'm Tripping think about the Joe Rogan situation and with Spotify? And Ken, I'm happy to help you out to get on other platforms in exchange for crawfish.
Please give the right information.
Right.
That's it. Right. We're all trying to get over this fucking COVID shit.
Yeah.
Please just give the right information. Please save people's lives. Don't kill people.
Mm-hmm. I hate to say it, but there's the people that say, well, who's to say what the right information is? There's always that.
Well, you know what? That's because there's people like doctors that have PhDs that study this.
Yeah.
That tell you the right information. So please listen to them.
Trust me that Spider-Man's first appearance is not in Spider-Man #1, but in Amazing Fantasy #15. That's facts. Big facts.
So I love Amanda. I love her character.
I was like, okay, great. Like they're giving so many other characters like something to do. Like
I love how she's on Tori's side. I love how she's helping her.
Yeah.
I love how she's just not like, you know what, you've been assaulting my daughter. You know what? Let's get past that. Let's set you right. I know what's going on with your mom. Let me try and help you. Let me do what I can do to help you. And you know what? Yeah, she gets a nurse to come see the mom, helps Tori out a little bit more. Tori starts becoming a little bit like, okay, you know, I'm not that angry.
But she was kind of shitty with the groceries, though.
It was, but you know what? It was kind of like, okay, but I'm not that angry anymore. But at the end, she's like, cool. She sees Amanda kind of like as a friend.
How did you feel about Samantha LaRusso's reaction to when Tori was sitting in the house?
Yeah.
Justified or being a bitch?
Justified. No. Okay. No, very justified. Very fucking. To Samantha, this is a girl that came up to her at school and fucking had a fucking spikes on her hands trying to kill her. And then she broke into her house.
Yeah.
Wanting to fucking kill her.
That's pretty wild shit.
Yeah, for her, it's like,
what the fuck are you doing in my house?
Fuck you. You know, get the fuck out of my house. So I was very understandable.
Yeah.
It's hard because I like what Amanda's trying to do, but Samantha's right.
Yeah, clearly the girl is troubled. I wrote down too, I was like, I love Tori, but she does need some therapy.
She needs therapy, but still Samantha is right for being like, what the fuck is she doing here? You know, fuck her, whatever the situation she's in, you know.
We kind of talked about it a little bit here, but like Kenny does end up becoming a Cobra Kai because his brother, who's in juvie, says, I know a guy who can help you, which is Robbie.
And Robbie tries to kind of show him a different way, but it's kind of like, He buys into the Cobra Kai mentality, which, I mean, you can't help but not buy into it. It makes you feel stronger. It makes you feel more confident. I mean...
Yeah. And I wrote down here that Daniel helps Miguel, and that starts to kind of become a thing. We see that, you know, Miguel... See, I feel different than you, Double A. I feel as though Miguel is a Miyagi-Do at heart. He has the heart of
He's a Miyagi-Do at heart, but he does need Johnny. He needs him to keep him reminding him to kind of stay focused, to not let his guard down, to still be tough. You know,
interesting.
Miguel does need that.
It's interesting because I kind of feel as though like Miguel has those skills now, and like he needs the other side.
Yeah, for sure. But
the yin and the yang, right?
I still think he needs Johnny's side a little bit more than Daniel.
Yeah,
and then because, like I said, I mean, there's those assholes like Kyler that are just, you know, fuck this.
And
dude,
that guy's been a bitch since the beginning.
That's why I said. That's why I liked when Miguel kicked his ass in season 3. I was like, fuck you. Like, I actually said that, like, out loud. You know, after he beat his ass, I was like, fuck you.
Yeah. I wrote down this moment, Double A, because, again, we're just talking points here, guys, throughout the series. The hair tie, Silver puts it on, kicks the wine bottle, and he's like, I was like, oh, shit.
I was ready for
this motherfucker is back. I was like,
I love that because we've had friends kind of tell us, like, how Kreese is like Terrence. Like,
yeah.
What is that? Like, we've had people tell us that. Like, what's this bullshit? What's this fucking bullshit?
You know, when you see your buddy being bitched out, you're like, what the fuck? Like,
he's like, we would have killed guys like this. That said, oh, that's cute.
Yeah, man, his jawline, right? How do you feel about the Johnny and Miguel's mom story progressing? Do you like that? Do you not like that?
No, I like it. And I, you know, I don't like how the only thing I didn't like about the writing is how they're treating Miguel. Like, at this point, Miguel's like 18.
He's practically an adult. Okay, right.
Like, all right, it's cool that you're dating. Cool.
Yeah.
You know, like, stop treating him like he's a fucking kid. He's already going to be out on his own.
Like, I loved the mom storyline, but I had to admit, you know, when Allie did make her re-emergence, there was a part of me that was like, oh, well, you know, since Daniel's married, maybe they could have something. Like, I really feel as though, like, I'm like, is Elizabeth Shue busy? Doesn't she have time to do this show?
Johnny and Elizabeth Shue, I mean, Johnny and Allie at this point would not fucking work at all. That would not work.
Because he's still down in the dumps, huh?
And his attitude, he's just so far beyond
she's
that.
Like a mature woman.
It's just not gonna work. It needs someone like Miguel's mom, like a nurse, to be more real with this dude.
And let's be honest here, Dilly. Also the fact that she's, you know, a foreigner, you know what I mean? Like, you know, like we've all known somebody that, like, you know, dates somebody you know what I mean? Like, and it's like there's like a language barrier or something, or a big age difference, and it's like, oh, how does that work? And I'm like, it probably works because there's like minimal conflict, whatever. Yeah. Although, like Miguel's mom's like a nurse or something, right? She's got a great job and all that. So she's not a dumb lady by any means. No, I don't mean it like that at all, because I mean, obviously,
but,
we're all Latinos.
She seems more compatible because I feel like she would tell Johnny like right away, no,
right,
like you're wrong. Where I think Allie would be kind of like, I don't know, like I think they would get into too many damn fights.
Yeah.
Where Miguel's mom probably would be like, just settle down,
right?
Stop with this.
I think Miguel's see through to Johnny's big heart. You know what I mean? Where maybe someone like Allie might say like, "When are you gonna get out of this apartment?" You know what I mean? Like, So okay.
So I'm glad that it went with Miguel's mom than Allie.
Okay, so here's a point I wrote down, which again, taking the anti-lean of the pro Johnny, and now watch this podcast, but the dude, fucking jealous ass Johnny, like every time he sees Miguel with Daniel, well, again, I'm like, come on, man, like you fucked up with your son.
I know you did. I know
you should want better from Miguel.
I could kind of see it though. It's kind of like him and Miguel kind of grew up together in a way. They both grew in season 1. That was a big growing point. That's why I love season 1 still.
I agree.
Miguel helps Johnny become a better person. Johnny helps Miguel become a stronger person.
And I think Miguel's still trying to help Johnny, but I sometimes feel as though Johnny's not trying to help Miguel no more.
Now, in season 4, it felt like he was weighing down Miguel, where Miguel is kind of like, fuck, I have to be with him because of loyalty. Where in season 1, it was just like, yeah, like we actually make each other better.
Well, yeah, because he was, Miguel was like a loser, and there was, I mean, not he wasn't a loser, but
no, both of them were losers at this point.
He was getting beat up. He was getting bullied. He was the person getting bullied. But
both of them grew in season 1 to where they became winners at the end. We're kind of like, it's different now.
Yeah.
But I can see where like Miguel's like trying to keep evolving, and Johnny's still at that same spot though.
Yeah.
Where Johnny doesn't want to evolve. That's like his problem throughout these whole seasons. He doesn't want to get out of that where he's in. You know? I know. Miguel is kind of like, but come on.
Well, that's what I mean. I just wanted this conversation to happen so bad where he's like, hey man, like that's my girlfriend's dad.
Yeah.
Like I'm doing good. I have a girl now. Like she's pretty. She's got a good family.
That's like
he's like, hey, come over and eat. And he's like, well, I ate with them. And he's like, you see that he's resentful. Like it just, I was like, come on, man.
And you can get that. I'm sure if you had a dad, and then all of a sudden they divorce, and then you're bonding with this stepdad, I'm sure the dad would be like, man, you know what?
Yeah, I do see that.
Fuck,
I do see that.
Hey, son, what about us? We usually like to have burgers and fries,
Right. Or even think about it with like, your kids, or even like, my nephew, if he started hanging out with another guy, was having fun, I'd probably be like, what the fuck is going on? Yeah. Like, okay, you make a good point. Make a good point.
It's kind of like, well, you know what? He has a life, and Johnny should see it that way too. Like,
yeah,
you know what? I have a life too with his mom.
Right,
he's always going to be there.
Yeah, hell, at one point he can't even like perform in bed because he's focused on that. And I'm like, come on, man, she's hot, buddy. You should be get your head in the game, Johnny. You've been wanting to bang hot chicks all this time.
I mean, you just got to kind of put yourself in that perspective.
Yeah,
that's where the writers want to, show you like, this motherfucker, again.
Yeah,
like he's still Allie for me now. He's still Miguel for me.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting. But that's what I mean, though, man. Like, damn, that shit is so. Like, Johnny needs therapy too, man, because that shit is so in him.
It's in him where he just doesn't want to get past it.
Because at this point, like Daniel has tried to help him. Daniel has tried to be like a friend. He's tried to be the bigger person. His wife, they had dinner. I like that dinner they had. I was like, look at this.
I like when they always have it.
The females get along. Like, come on, guys. Like, it's just like, damn, man.
And even he gets along with Amanda.
Yeah. It's like, he buys him booze. Now, I don't really see a relationship. Well, it develops here, you know what I mean? But, like, they don't really seem, it's more like student-teacher, but like Johnny and Samantha. Like, they don't ever talk about, like, Miguel or anything like that. But if they did, maybe that would be like, okay, we both care about him, Although, we'll get to it where there seems to be interesting
things happening. They start becoming really close. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I wanted to talk about this real quick because another thing, like I said, the show does so well, right? What about when Tori loses her job and then we see her about to start another job and we see the sleazy guy call? We both thought the same thing, right? Everybody thought the same thing.
Actually, me and my cousin Tony actually talked about that too. I always thought she was going to become like
a stripper, right? That's what I thought. I was like,
oh no.
That's what I thought. My mind, I was like, oh man, it got dark.
Yeah,
I was like, whoa.
No.
I was, the way he's like, yeah, whatever your name is, blah blah. I was like, oh man, this is fucking showgirls vibes bad. I was like, when what's his name, the Bond villain guy with the stuff on his face, he's also in Die Hard. In the helicopter, he's one of the FBI agents.
Oh, that Sanchez dude.
Yeah.
Shit, I can't remember his name.
Remember, he's like I don't know how many times you've seen Showgirls, if any.
Yes,
I've seen it a lot of times, but yeah, I like the tits in it. Yeah,
but
Elizabeth Berkley. But remember, he's the club owner when he's like, he's like, all right, if you want to work, you give me a blowjob, blah blah. I was like, man, that dirty bastard. I'm thinking of this guy. I was like, oh man, he's gonna fucking tell Tori to blow him. I was like, this shit. I was thinking this shit got dark, and then it was a fun twist that
real quick. It happens in Ozark too. It's part of the audition.
I didn't know you were watching Ozark.
He goes, it's not gonna suck itself. I was like,
yeah, you and Luck need to get together. Luck's a big Ozark guy.
Ozark is good. Ozark, you should check out Ozark.
Why don't you put it?
Damn good show.
You've been wanting to see who's watching it. I want to start checking it out now for sure.
Show.
You and Lucky.
So man, I was so happy though when it turned out to be like just like I guess like a pizza place or a jump around place or whatever you call those places.
Yeah, and they were like girls that dressed up like mermaids
like
or whatever,
mermaids.
or princesses or something like that.
I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, which of course leads to another confrontation, her and Sam. Real quick, because we haven't said his name, but Thomas Ian Griffith is who plays Terry Silver.
Yeah,
props to him. I heard he wasn't acting anymore; that he came back for this.
He's been writing for a lot of TV shows, and I was kind of like, cool. Wow, like he wrote for Grimm. I don't know if you remember that NBC show.
Yeah, it was popular.
And he wrote a few episodes of that. I was like, oh wow.
Yeah. What about the flashback? The big flashback they have, they're getting the tats, the cobras.
Oh yeah, so I love that too. I still love how they still have fleshed out their backstories. I mean, I've always loved how close they were, so it was kind of really a big shocker when it kind of started off like where he was like, "No, fuck you," like where he hangs up on Kreese and he's kind of pretty distant on Kreese because man, in Karate Kid Part 3, they're super. Right?
Yeah,
and then in season 3 of this show, they show them how super tight they are here too. So I was kind of like, "Oh wow, I was in that."
Yeah, but interesting because as the show progresses, we find out why when he talks about weaknesses and discovering weaknesses.
I think it's because of what Kreese was doing in the middle. I think he was full board on with Kreese until more and more he was just kind of like, you know what, this dude's pretty fucked up. I'm gonna take over.
Yeah, I have my note here, which I kind of been saying throughout, which is just that I felt like, man, there could have been some potential for some good writing and some arguments maybe, between, not that I want Johnny and Miguel to fight, but just Miguel kind of, again, reiterating the point that like, hey, man, this is my girlfriend's dad. Like, I'm not going to be a dick to him. I'm not going to disrespect him. I'm not going to be...
That's the thing, though. It's just, I think he feels too much loyalty for Johnny, and I think he feels like Johnny has made me to what I am. If it wasn't for him, I probably could never get a girl like Samantha.
Yeah.
I think he just feels like I'm too loyal. Like we've all had that feeling, man, where it's just like, oh, you know what, this guy's done so much more for me.
Sure.
Even though I don't agree with him anymore, I
know that feeling quite well.
Yeah, I gotta be loyal to this guy. It's kind of like. And that's where so much of the conflict comes in. By the tournament, Miguel's already just like probably broken by that point.
Yeah, he is. Especially that drunken moment with Johnny, man. That's so brutal, man.
Yeah, that was
brutal. I kind of choked up. I was like, holy shit.
Heart. I was like,
because here he is trying to be a son to Johnny, and if you guys know, you've seen obviously the show. We're talking about that moment in that episode after Johnny gets pretty much his ass beat by Silver.
Oh man, that was brutal.
Yeah, I was like, damn, Terry Silver can still go.
I thought he would be able to. I thought Johnny would be able to kind of like stick toe to toe with him.
Yeah,
he kicked his fucking ass. I was like, holy shit.
Yeah, I think he even uses some Miyagi-Do and it doesn't help him. Yeah, and Silver's like, oh, you've been learning defense. It kind of helps a little bit,
but wow. I was like, holy shit.
But yeah, then I guess he goes home and gets drunk afterwards to cure his pain, and then accidentally calls Miguel Robbie. And it's like, man, like I just almost felt like I could feel Miguel's heart breaking, where it's like, here the guy doesn't have a father figure except Johnny, and then he's like, man, you're still thinking about like, I mean, his son, which he doesn't understand because he doesn't have kids, but that part was rough, really rough.
But it's just that bond has become so strong, you know, it's kind of like,
I mean, yeah,
You know?
we're 4 seasons in now. I don't know how much time has necessarily passed from season 1 to now, but I mean,
it looks like it's been
2 years.
2 years because Miguel has been a champion, and then this was supposed to be the next year.
Yeah, okay.
At this tournament.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have here. I love what Daniel says about avoiding conflict can be brave. I like that.
It can be.
Maybe because I've always kind of adhered to that in my own life, and I like to think of myself.
There is times when the conflict does need to come to a head.
Absolutely.
But yeah, most of the time it's like, yeah, if you can kind of avoid it, then do it. You know.
Yeah. What do you think about how Samantha LaRusso acted at the party, where she definitely pushed the issue with Tori?
Oh yeah,
where it was like, man.
So that whole thing was kind of like just awkward because I was kind of like, wow, does Miguel still kind of like have feelings for Tori?
Right.
And then
and
it was
does
kind of
she
like
still have feelings for Robbie?
Which I was kind of like, no, please don't do that. I was like, man,
they're in a weird love, not triangle, but like love square.
Yeah, because I was kind of like, man, and you can see it was kind of crushing Miguel. It's kind of like, man, just forget about him, Sam. Like
everyone's hot in that little circle, so they're like the hotness is like overload. Like,
and you know, Miguel and Robbie still really haven't. They hate each other. They still really haven't like kind of had that bonding.
And how weird is that? How weird is that when they both like, you know, like Robbie, that's his real dad. Miguel doesn't have a dad. You almost feel like Johnny works on more his relationship with Miguel because it's an easier path because Miguel doesn't dislike him yet. He's instead of working on the path with Robbie, but that's your real son.
You know, he has tried.
Yes, and then we get that great moment in this season, which is fantastic.
But yeah, I mean, that hatred of Miguel and Robbie is pretty deep. And, you know, obviously Samantha and Tori's pretty deep. So, yeah, when it blows up, it just kind of just blows up.
Yeah. I definitely do feel like Sam initiated, though, all that. Like, she was in total Lawrence mode where it was like Cobra, Eagle Fang mode, whatever you want to call it. She was Eagle Fang. Fuck you. You know what I mean? Like, she was like, fuck this. I'm going to say some shit, you know? I do love the Robbie and Johnny dynamic in this one. It definitely starts to become more maybe the father-son relationship that potentially could happen. Yeah,
because it's kind of like every time Johnny tried doing it, Robbie was like, fuck you.
But you don't blame Robbie. I don't blame Robbie.
No, I mean, it was kind of like Johnny keeps trying to tell him, like, I'm changed, you know, just give me a chance. Just, you know.
But see, what we don't see, AA, in my opinion, is like we don't see all the years. It's like up to now, like you said, Robbie's almost almost 17, 18.
I would say they're about 18 at this point.
So we've been watching them since they were maybe let's say 16 or whatever. It's like,
or you know what, it's
all the growing up.
It was all under 18. So 17.
Yeah, and it was all the growing up that Robbie did without him, where I was like, where the fuck were you? Whatever.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Johnny
and plus, it must hurt to see him kind of coaching this other kid or whatever. Like, what the fuck? Who's this? You know?
Like, who's this? Oh. Yeah, why the fuck are you spending so much time?
We talked about the sprinkler prank. I said Silver definitely rattled Daniel when he saw him. Let me see. I just wrote down here, it would have been interesting if Johnny would have been like, you know, because Daniel's telling him, you know, he's telling at one point, Daniel is telling Johnny, like, you don't know Silver or whatever. But Johnny should have had something to say, like, you know, like, well, he doesn't know me. You know what I mean? Like, you know, because he's pretty badass in his own right, Lawrence, I think so. We talked about the Hawk Moon thing, definitely like that. It was kind of funny, the quote-unquote Twitter rant to nobody except Miguel. He's like, oh man, Sensei Lawrence went on a Twitter rant, and I was like, oh god, yeah. Again, incorporating modern stuff into this thing. You know, Johnny doesn't know what the fuck Twitter is, you know, but he's using it in this weird way, and then it sets up what potentially is going to be a LaRusso Lawrence rematch, which was interesting.
Oh, and they showed it. It did show it, so that was cool.
It was funny when he's like, if we fought 10 times, I'd win. And he's like, we did fight 10 times. I was like, have they fought that many times?
Well, again, the deleted scenes, they kind of does show them go at it at school a few times here and there. It's like about 3 scenes that they show that got cut out of the movie that probably should have been kept in the movie. Yeah. You know, where they do go at it. So.
The scene that they show a couple of times, AA, where he like puts the pie under.
That's a deleted scene.
That's not in the real movies.
No, it's a deleted scene that got cut out of the Karate Kid.
But in the theatrical cut, you don't see it?
No.
Because I was wondering, I was like, wow, this is old footage. And I was like, I don't remember this. I wasn't wrong. Yeah. I was like, I need to rewatch those. Every time I watch this show, I'm like, I need to rewatch those
Yeah,
movies.
I mean, it's fucking great. I love it because it just shows how much deeper the hatred
Because I was like, damn, I don't remember that pie scene or whatever it is. I was like, I remember kind of all
the way he just fucking smashed it on
his shirt. Yeah.
Man, and you're like, man, he just like you can feel the hate from these two fucking dudes.
I wrote down this part. Of course, Johnny takes it all seriously, starts to train. And what is he listening to on his Walkman? Of course, cassette Walkman. Burning Heart from Rocky 4.
Yeah.
Love that song.
Yeah, that's right.
Training
I told my wife,
montage.
I was like, that's for Rocky 4. I
I'm
was
like,
yeah.
I actually owned that soundtrack on cassette tape. It was my dad's. I own it now.
Right? Or,
Yeah.
or not it's John Cafferty or something
like that. Yeah. But I was like, that's a great song. That's what Rocky's training on the mountain.
Yeah.
Drago!
Drago! Yeah.
Well, we got to cover Rocky's Double A.
We need John on that one.
Oh, and then again, this is for the Now Watch This guys that were all pro Johnny. What about this fucking bully when he's training? He kicks that guy's beach ball for no reason, like a dick. Then he fucking smashes that guy's scooter.
I loved it.
I was like,
because
what
I was
a
so
fucking
Johnny.
asshole,
That is
Johnny.
an asshole, but I loved it because you're still keeping him as Johnny Lawrence. I was like, man, that's fucking funny.
But it's funny too because I know the writers kind of play to a little bit like of what society probably thinks. Like when those scooters were all over the sidewalks, we all were like, man, I wish I could just smash those fucking things. And Johnny does it because Johnny's Johnny. Who says desire, devotion, discipline? The 3 Ds. That's a Silver, right? He says that when they're training. Right. I thought that was interesting. I was like, okay.
That's what I'm saying. Terry was a real badass in this season.
I wrote this down, Double A, because they don't really come back to this, and I don't think that it is, but at one point they show Kreese when they follow him home. He's down on his fucking luck, living in like a halfway house, all that. Is Kreese still a bum, or is he okay now?
I'm going to assume that because of all the students are
the money from the students,
the money's coming in because, I'm going to say he's well off again. Not well off, but
I'm gonna say that maybe like Robbie and Tori probably get free karate because they're the best. But a guy like what's his name, Kyler or whatever, he's definitely charging that kid's parents
for sure. Tori is for sure, because of the situation. He knows he needs those two. Yeah.
They have an argument about the better way. What's a better way? I think Daniel is saying that, Miyagi-Do is the better way. And then I wrote down both seem really stubborn at that point.
Yeah, it was because it's stupid because it showed at the end that they needed both
each other. Right. Yeah, it was a very, very dumb argument. Pretty far along now, like my notes from episode 6. We're at the council part where they're about to change the rules and the thing.
Oh, yeah.
Man, I don't know what the fuck, but I was like turned off by this a lot. But like the Daryl character, especially at the tournament, like I'm like, did they just tell the actor, like, was the direction to him like, hey, just hype up the crowd or whatever, and he's just like, all right, All Valley, and I'm like, you know what? I would have rather they just brought in Michael Buffer for a cameo. Man, he was annoying the fuck out of me. Like it was like he's like the baddest dojo, and I was like, it was like so over the top. I was like, what? Like it just seemed out there or whatever. But I put Daryl sucks at the council. Boys versus girls tournament is what we get. We also get the boy girl champs. We also get the skills competition, and then the overall dojo champ, and then there'll be a girls champion. So that was kind of like the changes they made. I guess I never realized in the past it was boy versus girl.
Well, there never really was a whole lot of women until they got kind of introduced in Cobra Kai.
Okay.
With the female students.
Makes sense.
Because in the movies, it's pretty much all sausage
guys.
Fest.
Yeah, sausage fest big time, yeah. I put here, Miguel needs to stand up to Johnny. Cobra Kai definitely had... I put here, I don't know why I put Miguel needs to stand up to Johnny, but I think I've kind of been saying that throughout. But then I put here, Cobra Kai definitely had both boy and girl champs with Robbie and Tori. And then Miyagi-Do, you knew Samantha could be a champion, but you're not really sure.
There was no male.
There's no male. No. Yeah, definitely wasn't. And I wrote down here, Tori is 17 years old. She says she has a brother named Brandon that's 8. This is the first time we get introduced to someone from Tori's family, which is the aunt that shows up. Remember, she confronts her outside. Because up to this time, we've heard about Tori's family, but we've never seen anybody.
Yeah.
And so, what did you think about that little confrontation?
Man, that was terrible.
That was pretty grim.
That was bad, and that's where she
pretty much waiting for the mom to die.
That's where she's like, okay, I need to talk to Amanda LaRusso. For help,
so she can go back to school.
Yeah,
she's obviously got a little brother that she's also probably caring for.
Yeah, because this chick is fucking gunning for me now.
I don't know why, but in my mind, it took me back to American History X.
Oh,
You know, I know. Oh, let's talk about downer movies. Are you ever like, hey, let's watch American History X? No, you never ever say that.
That was the one and done for me too.
Yeah. Wow, great movie. I'll never see that
movie.
again. I think I actually own a copy that never gets watched.
Maybe Edward Norton's best role. Maybe.
Wow, fantastic. Man. But how about that, right? You've got, you know, the reason why I brought it up regarding Tori is because when I hear she has a little brother and a sick mom, you know, remember their mom was dying of cancer.
Yes.
And like, you don't hate the family, but you're like, man, you know, Edward Norton is this neo-Nazi piece of shit.
Yeah.
In the beginning.
Yes.
You know what I mean? But then obviously he gets better.
Yes.
But you know, just the fact that like that, I kind of imagine Tori's home life like that. There's this sick mom who's watching after an 8-year-old boy, because obviously Tori's having to work and then she's training, you know, so she's probably not home a lot to be like, you know, fill in for the mom. The mom is still having a mother.
I'm always going to assume that the training is probably only like an hour, probably at the dojo, probably like right after school. Would have been after school, and then she gets home and probably
does
enough
dinner
time
and
to
all
make
that.
the dinner and everything else.
Maybe help him with his homework or whatever.
Yeah,
which is fucking a lot. That's a
lot, especially for a sibling.
Yeah. I put here Amanda LaRusso and Daniel needed to pull the parent card. I think I was kind of thinking about when Sam's going off about, you know, Tori in the house and all that. But it was justified. Yeah. You convinced me. You convinced me that it was. Again, I talk about LaRusso's car. Man, that's a fucking sweet ride. She's right. I'm like, you letting her ride around in that fucking, I think it's a Mercedes?
Yeah.
I'm like, you couldn't have given her like any car off the lot. Ooh. She gets that car? Like shit, you know? How about this? The return of Aisha.
I was really happy that she
was
came
cool.
Back. I was hoping that she would have been in a lot more episodes, but I guess if this is what she can do or whatever, I don't know what the situation is.
Yeah.
I liked it. I was her back. I've always liked her character. I enjoyed her character.
So. I especially like what she told Sam, where she was like, hey, I took Sensei Lawrence's training and I used it for this.
It kind of convinced her to kind of more or less go deep into the Johnny teachings.
Right. Yeah. Right. I love that. It was a great friend moment. Yeah. So that was very cool. Where we have Sam confronts Tori at the school when and says, I'm coming for you, bitch. Ooh. And that was like, woo, chills. Like, holy shit. You know what I mean? Like, Sam is a bad bitch. You know what I mean? I like that. I like that a lot. I put something about, I have here regarding Anthony LaRusso. Can't even read my own damn Lapuso, but Bon, the debate girl.
Oh yeah, she was okay. She was fine.
I thought she was pretty cool, funny, good comic relief. She seemed like, hey, I liked her. You know, later on in the tournament, she's like, I did this well, and I've only been training for a few weeks. You know what I mean? So,
yeah, I liked her. I liked her character.
I thought she was cool. Me. Yeah. How about the Cobra Kai's getting all that new gear? Silver just goes all out. Badass.
Holy
shit, man.
The whole fucking, like, it's almost like a whole like private gym. Like, I was like, oh, damn. The gear was cool. Like, my wife was like, is that real? I want to get some of those.
Yeah.
Like, she loved the shit that Tori was wearing.
Oh yeah, the halter top and the thing.
She loved it.
I thought I think Robbie had a badass
Robbie
one.
had a badass one too.
I was like, damn, Cobra Kai gear is going hard.
I was like,
yeah, he's got that money, man. Do you think Kreese is just stuck in the past though? He's just like,
you know what? He could have done so much with Cobra Kai, especially if he had Terry with the partner and making this like an actual like dojo instead of like his own personal vendetta against fucking Daniel and everyone.
Yeah.
Obviously, he has the teachings. He can teach champions.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if he can just let that fucking shit go about the whole no mercy shit, you know, playing dirty, he can actually become one of the greatest senseis ever. You know?
Or is he just stuck like in Vietnam times or what, man? That motherfucker is like, you know, Kreese is just like,
he could have done so much more with his life. Put it that way, he could have done so much more.
Yeah,
you know,
I've yet to find anything really redeeming about Kreese. He's just
No.
Okay, so we're pretty far along now.
Even though they really try hard, it looks like, to make you really like him, especially with, you know, his bonding with Johnny, like where he really wants Johnny back. You know, it's like, come on, it's kind of like a Vader Luke thing.
Yes,
like,
I've got some interesting theories on that. I'm going to talk to you. I've talked to you about here, but we're already pretty much up at season 8, and I think we only have like 2 episodes left after that.
Yeah, it's only 10 episodes.
But we get Stingray returns. Your favorite character, Double A.
Yeah, he loves his Cobra Kai, man.
Hey,
he
man,
loves his friends. He loves his high school
I loved
friends.
him fucking telling off the neighbor or whatever. I was like, what the fuck? Stingray is such a comical, over-the-top character. Hey, that guy, and I learned this from Now Watch This. I'll give you guys this. He played the Richard Jewell in the damn movie or whatever. And I was like, what else was he in?
Cruella.
Oh, that's right. That's right. He's the other crony or whatever. Yeah. Which the other crony comes out in that movie that I like yesterday about the Beatles or whatever.
Yeah.
He's the
roadie. He's come out in like a lot of movies. You'll see him.
Yeah, those guys are popping out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So here's a kind of a character you could have thought was like a side character, a funny character. Didn't have really. And again,
he's
the
like
writers,
in his 30s. All his friends are pretty much all these high school kids from Cobra Kai.
Yeah,
so it's like he still wants to be that life of the party dude.
And then again, the writers do a good job of kind of inserting him into what becomes an important piece.
Very important
piece. Yeah.
Very fucking important.
I wrote this down. It happens very kind of nonchalantly, but it's Tori who asks Robbie to prom. I liked that. That was very neat. I thought that was cool. You forget that they're of that age.
Real quick, with Stingray, there's a part that it kind of went viral, like on Twitter. Gary Holt, the guitarist for Exodus, and then he became like the guitarist for Slayer. There's a part where he's telling a neighbor where he's like, "You're blaring out shitty Metallica music," and he's like, "It's actually Exodus, Bonded by Blood." Well, Gary Holt is a big Cobra Kai fan, and he put it on his Twitter, and he started he saw that part, and he started laughing. He's like, "Ha ha, fucking loser! Tell him."
That's awesome, man.
Gary Holt is like, legend to be like, if you like Exodus or Slayer.
Do you know who else is a big fan? I put this on our Facebook group, the Friday Night Faithful. Andrew Garfield is a huge Cobra Kai fan.
Yes, that's right. He got really fucking
he looked starstruck.
Yeah,
he looked like he was starstruck.
This is fucking Spider-Man. And he was starstruck by Cobra Kai.
You would almost say right now, doesn't it feel like it's everyone's favorite Spider-Man right now? I'm like, look at what No Way Home did for Andrew Garfield.
And you know what? We've always been saying we loved his Spider-Man.
He was great. He was great.
So,
I'm ready to. I got Tick Tick Boom on my Netflix watches because I just want to watch more Andrew Garfield, man. But
a good Andrew Garfield movie, if you're into him, is The Imaginarium of Dr. Parnassus.
Oh, okay.
That's a really good one. That's Heath Ledger's last movie. That's the one that Johnny Depp and Colin Farrell filled in for him, and Jude Law filled in for him.
Awesome.
After he passed away.
I did not know that.
It's a really cool movie.
What can you stream on?
I don't know that actually you can stream it, but I mean,
I'll go look for a copy. I've never seen that.
Imaginarium of Dr. Parnassus.
And it's a good movie story wise as well.
That too.
Very cool. Okay, so I'm gonna throw out a theory here. When CM Chuck's theories
I didn't know
here.
about this one. I was like, I don't know.
I just have this vibe based on what Silver says. Silver tells him your weakness, Kreese. When Kreese wants to know what his weakness is, he's like, "What's my weakness?" Blah blah. And he didn't.
Which Kreese claims. He doesn't have
a weakness, right? And it's funny, right? Because Kenny at one point says, Robbie doesn't have a weakness. He's talking about Robbie. Huh. He's like, Robbie doesn't have a weakness. And he's like, Silver tells him everyone has a weakness. Well, Silver tells Kreese, my weakness is you, Kreese. You're always bringing up the Vietnam shit. You're always bringing up, you fucking drag me down. You're my weakness.
Even though in part 3, Kreese does try to walk away. I will say that in part 3, he does try to walk away. And Terry doesn't let him.
Hey, but the answer to anything that goes wrong in 80s movies, it's unbelievable. You're hopped up on cocaine, which he said he was. So there you go.
Yeah.
But when Kreese wants to know what his weakness is, Silver tells him, here, now I'm going to tell you what your weakness is. Your weakness is Johnny Lawrence, which led me to my theory that I'm going to get. I ran it by Double A before this. Double A was kind of like, you kind of hope not. If this is true, it fucks up kind of.
It kind of does.
I think it fucks up all of Karate Kid. And I don't know the writers would do that because they seem to really love it. But I have a feeling that we're going to find out that John Kreese is Johnny Lawrence's dad. Remember, we have this flashback, right, to Johnny as a kid. Johnny has the beer can. He remembers the beer can. It's a Coors. That's why he says. That's why he drinks Coors.
Yeah.
We do see Kreese drink beer. It's not really obvious, but he drinks beer. But Johnny Lawrence is also playing with a G.I. Joe man. And he's like, it's like an army man or whatever. And, Kreese was in the army. There's Johnny and John. I just feel like that. Then there's also, why is Kreese so attached to Robbie? because that's his grandson.
Mm.
That's his Kylo Ren.
Mm.
I feel like we're gonna find out because we don't know who Johnny Lawrence's dad is. Miguel and him have a conversation. He's like, "Why did you never go find out?" Maybe I was afraid of finding out. Well, I would never know. He didn't have to go find him because his dad found him. That's what I think may happen. I don't know if I want it or I don't want it. If I do want it, I only want it so that someone can find this sound bit and be like, "Just another Friday night." Discovered it first. It's a bold, wild ass theory. I'm probably not the first one to have it, but Double A, I feel like the writing might be on the wall with that. Maybe. And the writing on the wall says, strike first, strike hard, no mercy. What if that were true? How would you feel? Is that a good theory? Is that a shit theory?
Man, I don't know. I'm hoping not.
I mean, his mom was this young, hot blonde. She hooks up with this older army
like
guy.
Ed Asner says.
Yeah.
Tight.
Yeah.
He's like, ooh.
R.I.P. to Ed Asner, man. Yeah. Fuck, man. Dirty ass motherfucker.
Tan, tight.
Kreese obviously wouldn't stick around because he's a piece of shit.
Well, that too, and he was still doing his tours because it says he was karate champion from like 72 to 74.
That's right. That's right.
When is Johnny born? Say
I didn't do the math on the timeline.
85, he's supposed to be about 17.
Mm-hmm.
So he'd have to be born around 68.
Nam went until what?
Kreese would have still been there in the military.
But he could have come at shore leave. He
could have come and had a one-night stand.
He obviously has an affinity for California. So
obviously, that's where he settled down.
That's where he settled down. So then he goes back. Maybe that's why he never came back. Just never came back. Gets the letter, I'm pregnant, and it's like, fuck that, you know.
But I don't think he would like.
He's like, I'm more interested in starting a dojo.
Yeah, yeah, because I mean, shit, when he got a billionaire backing you up, yeah.
But now, yeah.
Well, I mean, even then, obviously Terry was
came from money.
Yeah,
yeah, because he was like, my dad won't let me do this or that or whatever. Yeah, interesting. Marinate on that theory. Marinate. Okay. All right, we're at the tournament now. What's great is that we get the tournament over 2 episodes. I love that.
Which I was happy. I was kind of like, okay, cool. We're going to see all the fights that we need to, all the skills, blah, blah, blah. I was kind of like, okay, cool.
So I wrote down what I wanted to see was like Robbie versus Miguel. That's like a fight.
I was hoping. I was like, okay, I'm thinking that's going to be the main event. And then when we got Hawk and Miguel, I was like, ooh, that'd be cool too.
That was neat too.
I was like, ooh.
I also wrote down Tori versus Sam, which we do
get. I was like, okay, cool. This has to go down. This has to.
One we definitely want. Yeah. So, let me see here. The other thing I wrote down was we already kind of talked about the moment where Johnny calls him Robbie after he gets beat up by Silver. Then we get the beatdown of Stingray by Silver.
Yeah, poor Stingray. He just wants to be Cobra Kai.
He's so
yeah.
Now I didn't really get that though. Like, why wouldn't he just be an Eagle Fang? He just wanted friends, really. Like,
because he got put away. So to him, there is no Eagle Fang.
Right, he doesn't know about it.
He doesn't know. So when he comes in, it's Cobra Kai.
But he wouldn't seek out Sensei Lawrence.
Well, I'm guessing he's like, well, Kreese is here, Tori's here. I was like, okay, you know,
these are my old buds.
Yeah,
yeah. Well, he does.
And he had him at the party, so he's kind of like, okay, you know.
Yeah. I wrote down the thing again about Dimitri and his girl, which was the hot girl from the beginning. But we kind of already talked about that, which was great for Dimitri, obviously. At the tournament, I read some people didn't like it. Your cousin Andrea didn't like it. She didn't like this particular part. The Carrie Underwood singing. She said she didn't like that, but she's singing the song from the movies, the old movies, right? She sings that song. I think it's called Survivor, which was from one of the movies, the earlier movies. So it wasn't like, because people were like, even the Now Watch This guys were like, oh, they should have got an 80s band or whatever. And I was like, well, no, because it's modern.
I thought it was actually a big grab. I was kind of like, oh, wow, Carrie Underwood's on here?
It adds a little bit of legitimacy.
I was like,
and she is singing a song, an 80s song.
Fucking legs that she has.
Oh, my God.
Oh, my goodness.
Who doesn't want to look at her? I would have watched her. She could have sang 2 fucking songs.
Let me see. Survivor or Carrie Underwood?
Yeah. But the song, I think the song is by the band Survivor, which again, that song plays in one of the earlier movies, so there was relevance. It wasn't like, you know.
Yeah. It's just updated by Carrie.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
I write down again here that Daryl sucks as the announcer. Get Michael Buffer.
How about the blue and gold?
Just like the overhype. If I was a director, I would have been like, "Cut. Can we scale it down a little bit?"
It's over the top, though.
But it's just like, Like it seems like they gave him free reign, and it's like okay, it took me out of it. I was like, dude, like that's enough. So I put here, okay, I want your thoughts on this. Okay. How do we keep going with the story once characters age out? Miguel's about to age out, Robbie's about to age out, Tori's about to age out, Sam's about to age out. They're about to be 18. It's the 18 and under. Is it? No. It's not even the 18 under. It's the under 18 tournament. Yeah, so you've got to be 18. Under 18. Yeah. So these kids are about to turn 18. I think we might get to still see their senior year. But how do you take the show with that? Knowing that they're going to age out? Well, they've done it before. They did it in season 2 where there was no tournament. And who knows? After all this is done, remember this was supposed to be for the Battle of the Valley. Mm-hmm. Now we can actually get on past that. Mm-hmm. Okay, so now it's going to be kind of like, how do we get Terry out of here for Daniel and Johnny? You know, with Robbie, he's going to have to kind of figure out what to do now with Johnny. With, you know, Tori, she's probably like, all that anger is gone, especially after she finds out what happened at the tournament. Yeah. You know, I mean, she's going to be like, oh, fuck, you know. What about this, Double A? Miguel's storyline is going to be, you know, where his storyline is going to be firmly down south. Yeah, he's going to Mexico where he's going to become the Blue Beetle. I think you can do a whole season without even having to worry about the tournament like they did in season 2. I was also thinking this was my theory, was I wanted to hear your theory, but I like it. But you have Silver talking about other dojos. Yeah. Of course, before what he does to Kreese, but you could have had like Kreese manages one, Silver manages one, Robbie manages one, Tori manages one. It's funny because he actually does talk about that in part 3. Really? That same speech is almost the same speech he gives in part 3. Oh, I did not realize that. Okay. Yeah. But that gave me a thought. It would have been cool to have Robbie, because they would have been 18, so they would have been legal. Yeah. And it would have been a job now, not just like, I'm giving you a job. Yeah. Like, I'm not. You manage this one, you manage this one, you manage this one. Yeah, because Silver's fucking, like you said, a billionaire or a millionaire. He can afford to pay Tori, 50, 60K a year. Yeah. And Tori's a badass. She could definitely lead a dojo. So it's like, I was like, oh, and then you could still have them maybe like, I was even thinking too, I'm like, do you have them go to like the MMA? Do you have them compete in the Olympics? That'd be badass. There is karate in the Olympics, right? Yes. I mean, like, you could potentially say, hey, like, let's train for this. That'd be badass. Yeah, they can have their own MMA shit. Yeah, I was thinking, I was like, someone like Tori is badass. Robbie, obviously badass. You could have them compete, you know what I mean? Yeah. Or they go to Thailand. You take it to the other level, right? You take it to the next level. Yeah. Go to Thailand, get in the real blood sport, you know what I mean? Have Robbie in that, Kumite. Well, I wanted to hear your thoughts on that. How do you keep it going past 18? You can't easily. I just think you just keep the storylines kind of like base. Okay, we're out of this tournament now. Yeah, fine. That's fine. Yeah. You can still have a pretty compelling movie. I think so too. Plus, I think that's another reason why they start introducing the younger characters, right? We've got so you can, I guess, still have that if you want that aspect. But yeah, I think there's so much more you can do with Tori, with Robbie, with Miguel, with Johnny, with Daniel. I mean, it's going to be interesting to actually probably see the Cobra Kai's pop up everywhere. Yeah, that you're going to be like, oh shit, and then you have them, you're still bonding or whatever, still seeing each other. Like Tori obviously is probably not going to be into Cobra Kai after this season. Robbie's pretty much done with Cobra Kai. You're only going to get those dicks like Kyler, Stingray. That's going to be Cobra Kai. Kreese, that's going to be interesting too. I don't know what the fuck they're going to do with Kreese now that he's got that charge. That's a crazy story. That twist, right? The Cobra Kai's turned on each other. I was even thinking too. At one point, you kind of hear Daniel talking to Miguel and Sam about colleges or whatever. They could end up at UCLA or and Miguel obviously has the grades. He said he's like fucking all A's everywhere. I was like, damn. Yeah. Okay. And it's like California vibes, UCLA. It's like there's also Berkeley. There's a couple too. Of places. They said the Trojan school. Trojans, yeah. Yeah. That's like, you could have them kind of commuting or whatever. Yeah. I've gotten to the point with this Cobra Kai family AA where I feel like it's almost like the Spider family, where it's like Harry and Gwen and Mary Jane and Peter and like that Betty, like they're like this little clique and they kind of intermingle, like they've dated each other in a way. It's cool because look, as good as Karate Kid is, actually I've always thought Karate Kid 2 was so much better than Karate Kid. Mm-hmm. And that's like without the tournament whatsoever. That was just a really good plot line. Now obviously Karate Kid is a classic, is the ultimate classic, but when you actually look at part 2,
That was like a lot better.
Interesting.
Part 1.
I haven't seen it in a while. There's a great box set right now on Amazon. Have you seen it? That's beautiful, man. I want to pick that bad boy up.
That is.
I wrote down this line here. We're kind of in the midst of the tournament now, but Daniel says, I think he's talking to Robbie. He says, never put passion in front of principle.
Yeah.
I loved that. Yeah. I loved that.
And it looks like it actually does get through Robbie.
That was a very mature that was like a very clear Daniel-san Miyagi moment. I was like, oh, that's a beautiful saying or whatever, you know. Yeah. I love that so much. I liked it too. I put Kyler as hot trash. We both agreed on that a long time ago.
Fuck that dude, man. It's like I always said, fuck that dude. Every time I see him.
Do you feel like this? I got vibes of this because, of course, obviously, and I watched this mention this, as did several other sites. Everyone was really like, the kid that plays Kenny is the next Miles Morales. He's going to be Miles Morales.
Yeah.
But there were moments when I saw Robbie and Kenny, and I was like, I did get Peter and Miles vibes from seeing them together. Because the kid that plays Robbie, he's got Tom Holland vibes. He could play Peter, you know?
The only thing I always say about the dude is it's not him, it's just, man, he's not tall, you know?
Well, right, but Tom Holland really style. If we kept doing a young Peter Parker, which I think we're getting past that now. Finally,
yeah, we are.
Because Tom Holland has kind of put his stamp on it. Yeah. We've got to age up Spider-Man a little bit here, especially with what we saw in No Way Home. But I definitely got those vibes, shades of Peter and Miles from them.
I wonder if they thought, though, like, I mean, they couldn't have thought that. They could have thought, hey, this kid, you know, as soon as we're done with him, everyone's going to say for him to play Miles. I mean, I'm pretty sure that's not what they thought at all.
No, not at all. I'm sure he's hoping that.
Excuse me.
Oh, you're good.
I'm sure he was fucking ecstatic when he saw Twitter blowing up like,
oh, let me get that Miles Morales money.
Miles?
Let me get that Marvel money.
Miles? Like, wow.
Yeah, and I'd be for it. The kid was a great actor. So
I liked it. He was in great shape, man. He's very athletic.
Very athletic.
So, yeah.
All right. One of my favorite moments, AA, Diaz versus Hawk in the tournament. Man. Dude, the geese.
I loved how they fist bump. I love how they're still buddies. And it's kind of like, man, it was kind of like, ooh, let's see if Miguel can kick his ass.
I wrote this down, and I told you about this. We couldn't wait to talk about it, guys. We tried to save when we're going to talk about something till we're here, so it's fresh. But when we're bursting, it's like, oh, I got to tell it right now. There's one of my favorite rivalries in all of rivalries is Ryu and Ken, you know, from Street Fighter. And I always was like, man, you know, like, it's so cool, but it would be neat if, like, you know, somehow the characters, you know, acknowledge each other or whatever. Well, later in the Street Fighter games, after, like, Street Fighter 2, they put it in where, like, if I'm playing as Ryu and AA is playing as Ken and we're playing the game together, when they go out before the fight, they actually bump fists. And it's like a really cool thing. Like, only their two characters would do it. Like, they would interact. They had an interaction built into it because they were always, you know, both trying to be the best. And I just saw, like, when Miguel and Hawk walked up there, I was like, oh, man, this is like that moment. And when he's like, hey, you're not going to hold back, right? He's like, nope. I was like, he's like, good, me neither. Like, I was like, damn, this is going to be, I was so popped for that. Too. I was like, this is going to be hype. I did not expect what happened.
Me neither.
That threw me off.
Me neither.
I didn't hate it, though.
I didn't hate it, too. At first I did until later. Again, I had to let it marinate a little bit. Because I'm such a big Miguel fan. I love Miguel.
Yeah.
And I really wanted to see this fight. And I was kind of like, oh.
And Hawk has a fan base, too. We're big Hawk fans,
I like Hawk, too. Because to me, he's kind of like the Vegeta to Miguel's Goku.
Yes. A
super strong fighter. Yeah. Really great fighter, but kind of like he's not going to get to Miguel's level. You know?
Yeah. I would love to see them fight it out, 2 points each, and then last point maybe goes probably Miguel. I would say, you know, like, and almost like you're almost there, you know, just like with Ryu and Ken. Ryu is just always a little bit better than Ken, very little bit, you know. But like, you know, Ryu dedicated his life to fighting, whereas, you know, Ken had a wife and a daughter. I think. Yeah, you know, but it was like, damn, like, but he always saw that. What?
It set up for something even bigger that I didn't even foresee. So I was kind of like, oh,
yes, which was Robbie and Hawk, and now you're like, ooh,
because right away
these motherfuckers got beef.
Because like for me, like I'm a deep fan, so I was kind of like, damn, I love Hawk, but there's no way he's gonna beat Robbie. Like I'm thinking about this like as a boxing fight. Like,
yes,
hey, there's no way he's gonna be fucking Robbie. He's not good. He's not at that level.
Now here's what I wrote down. Like the way the story was set up, I thought they could have left this out. They kind of kept us being informed about what the score was and what was going to happen.
Oh yeah,
and what it would. They could have left us out with that because I would have forgot about it.
Yeah,
and then I would have been.
I did forget about it until they talked about it.
Right. But if they would have done that, we would have been more surprised because I think that we all knew once they said Cobra Kai's got to win this many, Miyagi-Do's got to win this many. We were kind of like, oh, it's going to end up being. We knew that Hawk had to win.
Kind of like, there's no way they're going to let Hawk win, right?
Right.
Like,
that's what I thought too,
right?
Because they've been building up how badass Robbie is.
Yeah.
But what was cool was, and this is what the writers did a great job on. It wasn't like Hawk just won because they were building the story that way. They also had it because he had doubt because of Kenny. That made it okay that Robbie lost.
It did. But you know what? I love the fight. I think I texted you where I was like, man, that fight was like really badass.
Yeah.
And I love
the geese off or whatever.
I like that too. I thought that was such a big fucking alpha thing. Like that's what you do when you really start getting into it.
Yes.
When you start getting into a fight, you're just like, Robbie's like, man, fuck this. Like I'm just gonna like, move. And then Hawk's like,
oh, okay.
All right.
Yeah.
He takes up. That's kind of like you're for real. Like, okay, now shit's real here.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, all right. And man, when Hawk won, I let out like, whoa.
Yeah.
Holy shit, Hawk fucking won. Like I turned to my wife, I was like, holy shit, he won. I was like, oh fuck.
I think I popped harder than that when Robbie tells off Silver.
Oh,
you want to fight him? I was like, shit.
Man, Silver looked like he wanted to fucking
he was going to go at him.
Like,
which was great acting, right?
I was
like, man, this is pretty good. Oh, we got some people back in the audience here. Hey, I made it back in time. Okay, start from the beginning. Is that Rizzo? Rizzo, is that you? It says Facebook user to me. Again, guys, if you're commenting in from the live that is streaming on the Facebook group, the Friday Night Faithful, put your name at the beginning or the end of your comment because I only see you as Facebook user, unfortunately. But if you're watching us from our page or from YouTube, I will see your name on there. But right now, I just see that as Facebook user who says, hey, I made it back in time. Rizzo, I'm assuming that's you because you said you might come back if we were on late, which, long format here. So it says curses clearly. That must be you. Yeah. And I talked to Joe earlier and he said he was going to be on, but he probably fell asleep. He says he goes to bed early now because he's an old man. But yes, Double A. I thought that was, and I also felt like there was a little bit of a thing, right? Robbie is feeling at this moment vulnerable about, man, have I showed Kenny the right way? So him kind of taking off the gi is like he's shedding the Cobra Kai gi, right?
And that too.
Like, I was like, oh shit. There's it's like a lot of symbolism. Like people are like, man, that show is kind of like, I'm like, no. This show is deep.
No, because if you ever been in that situation as a man, the testosterone is just fucking flowing through you like you can't believe. Something like that is a big message. It's a big fucking message. Trust me.
Yeah.
When you take that shit off, it's not to show off your body. It's to show it's something else. It's like you're fucking serious. I'm gonna go all out now.
Yeah.
Fuck this. Like I don't have time to tie this shit back up. It's just like fuck this.
Although these kids are cut, I was like, what the fuck?
And you're also sending a message to the other guy. You're like, I'm the fucking alpha here.
Right.
Well, that kid's not gonna want to back down either. He's gonna be like, "Fuck you too." I'm taking this shit off too. It's a message. It's a fucking testosterone message. Trust me. It sounds stupid. It really does. It's kind of like the Pulp Fiction, the foot massage thing. It sounds really good when Samuel L. Jackson is talking about it. It sounds really stupid when Uma Thurman talks about it. Like, you're like, shit. It really does sound stupid. But but it's serious. It's serious shit when you actually do that. It's not to show off the six pack. It's to show your fucking dominance.
I had this conversation one time. Riz, yes, you are on the right one now. Riz, tell us what happened. Did you switch from the Facebook group to the regular page or what? Because I can see your name and everything now. But Double A, I love that. But I had this talk, right? And it's so funny. I wasn't trying to have a foot massage conversation, but it ended up being that way because I was with my girlfriend and her family or whatever, and your cousin Ruben and his wife. And then I said, my question was, and I'll also put this to the Friday Nighters. Again, this might be a better question for maybe I'm tripping podcast, but is it okay for another woman to scratch your back?
Oh, no.
See, right?
No.
That's what I said. That's what I said.
No.
I said no. Like I posed that question. I was like, if I turn to, Ruben's wife or my girlfriend's sister and was like, "Ooh, would you scratch my back?" It would be like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Like that shit's kind of intimate.
Yeah.
Like you might ask like your sister or like your mom to scratch your back if you
Yes.
got an itch.
Yes, a cousin or someone, but you don't ask like another fucking friend.
No, and not even, especially like if your girl is there. Like you wouldn't ask your friend's wife.
Goodness.
You wouldn't ask your friend's wife to scratch your back, right? Like,
No.
or not even that. But what if you do ask like a dumbass and they do it? Then it's like, what the fuck is going on? I would not like to see my girlfriend scratch anyone's back, and I'm sure you wouldn't want to see your wife scratch anyone's back. Like that's a weird fucking thing, though, right? You're like, what is it? And it was funny because Ruben's wife was like, but why is it a big deal? And I was like, I don't know why it's a big deal. You're right. Deal. It sounds dumb, like the foot massage, but you're also like, nah, don't do that. Like if just scratch her brother's back, I'm not gonna care.
Of course not.
Yeah,
of course not.
You know what I mean? Or her dad. But if she scratches her brother's back,
dude, that's a good-looking dude too,
right?
They're just like, oh, well, you wouldn't have touched him if he would have. Yeah, you would have been like, fuck you. But you're over here, like.
Yeah, Ruben's brother-in-law, CJ is like a big buff guy with long hair. You know what I mean? People say it looks like fucking Aquaman and shit like that. Oh, shit. And I'm like, I ain't trying to see you scratch that motherfucker back. Like, hold up. You know what I mean? Like, that shit is just.
But when it's like a guy on guy thing, it is a message. It's a message showing like I'm fucking alpha here.
Yes. Absolutely.
And it's a message. It's stupid. Like I said, it sounds stupid, but it's a real message. Trust me.
Totally, man.
It's showing that. No, we have a problem accepting that someone else. Yeah, there are followers, but most of us want to be the alpha. Trust me, I'm like that too. Kind of like at work, I want to be the alpha. Like even though I don't want to, there's part of me where it's like, I'm going to show these fuckers up. Yeah. I'm going to show them that you can't outwork me. Well,
there's another part of you that says too, like if I don't assert myself, then I may get left back or pushed to the side. So you've got to kind of do that.
Trust me, because I work in physical jobs and. You kind of feel alpha when you're doing physical jobs. You're like, I'm the big dog here, So, yeah.
Absolutely, man. Let's see. Rizzo says, yeah, it's because I get notifications from both and I couldn't tell which was which because I don't know how to read. Yes, you do. He says, no touchy.
So,
I'm telling you, Rizzo, am I right?
I love that moment. They both take it off because it's kind of like,
okay. Plus, they also did a great job. Again, credit to the writers, man. So much credit to them. You could have just been like, nothing could have been going on with Hawk. But they have Hawk throughout having these confidence issues, especially the way Robbie emasculates him, right? With taking off the mohawk. Yeah. Man, it's fucking the Samson moment, right? Yes,
it is.
And he's broken after that.
Broke bad.
Dimitri's trying to help him. He's quitting karate. Dimitri's being the voice of his. And Moon, like bringing Moon back in the way that she is. She's obviously hot. And he's like, man.
And that's Miguel's real life girlfriend.
What?
Yes.
I did not know that. What the fuck? Yeah. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Way to go.
And like Hawk's like his real Hawk is like his real life best friend. And that's like his real life girlfriend. So that's kind of funny.
That's so dope. I did not know that. Look at these kids. They're living the dream, right? Yeah. But yeah, so for them to have those two stories going on with Robbie and Kenny, it makes the fight have impact. Even though we know that 99% is going to go to Miyagi-Do because we have to have this final conflict, which I love is the girls. I love that. Because I'm more hyped for that fight at this point probably than any other fight.
I was too because I was kind of like my ultimate guy fight was going to be Miguel
and Robbie, right?
That was my ultimate. So
we're not going to get that fight.
When Hawk and Robbie, I was kind of like, oh, that's a good one. Okay, I wasn't thinking about that one. I was kind of like, ooh, because I would have assumed Robbie would just roll over Hawk and get to Miguel.
Yeah.
And so I was kind of like, man, but that fight was actually really good. Now,
this fight, because it's great because you also make Hawk a boys champion. Yeah. Which is for Miyagi-Do. Which is great. Yeah. Which is great. You could say the only other Miyagi-Do champion?
Yeah.
Besides Daniel LaRusso, right? So that's pretty fucking awesome in the setup. Rizzo in the house. Rizzo, who contributed heavily to the Now Watch This episode covering Cobra Kai season 4, says here.
Was his girlfriend no longer from what I saw?
Okay. Rizzo's more up on the tabloids than we are. Somebody call Wendy Williams up on this. Okay. So let's see here. I have here Samantha LaRusso versus Tori Nichols.
That one, I was really pumped up. Like you said, that's one of the fights we've always wanted to see. That's one of the main fights.
Now, Double A, in your mind, the stakes are whoever loses, the dojo closes. The show's called Cobra Kai.
Yeah.
Could Cobra Kai close?
No, but still, it's kind of
Plus, you need a villain. We always say on this show, you are only as good as your villain.
But still, it's kind of like, damn, this was like, are they going to make Tori win? Or are they actually going to, make Sam win? I was kind of like, ooh.
Now, let's get into the fight.
Great fight. Tori's actually, really bullying her way in there.
Mm-hmm. At first.
And she goes to Daniel. She's like, fuck, she's beating me.
She's almost like, man, your fucking style sucks, man. Like, let me hit this bitch.
Yeah.
And
now, which I do like. Okay, so before this part, we get Johnny, right? Where they come back together again.
Who?
Johnny and Daniel.
Yeah, I think they
get
talk
back together again.
Yeah, they talk. He says, "Can you help me?" I think with this,
and that's where he's like, he tells the announcer, like, to announce that Johnny is a 2-time, which I was kind of like happy.
We had been saying
finally,
that. We said that in our last episode.
I know he's a 2-time champion. He said that before, that he's a 2-time champion. I was like, why don't they ever introduce him? Like, why don't they show 2 banners?
Yeah, he should have 2 banners too,
like they have with Daniel. I was like, I didn't understand that from season 1. I was like, I know he won 2.
Yeah.
Before he was the runner.
It's kind of like one of those things in boxing, right? Double A, that we talk about, where it's like, you get like, you have like these lauded champions, right? Like your Tysons, and but then you have kind of guys that like don't get as much credit, like a Lennox.
Yeah.
Although he was like way technical and like fuck guys up.
We saw Lennox.
Yeah. I mean, he was a bad dude.
Yeah.
But he also was like not really flashy. So it was like people don't really be like, they never really get up in the Lennox Lewis stuff like you do, like, oh, Tyson, he's in those conversations. Muhammad's in those conversations.
Obviously.
But it's like, you don't think about it, but it's like there was, maybe that's why. I don't know if that's why. Maybe because Lennox was such an underdog that it was a better story.
It was because Lennox played with his people. When he actually knocked out people, we saw where he knocked out people.
Right. Hasim.
We saw Lennox. We know what a badass Lennox was. It was hard to beat that.
That guy was like the definition of boxing.
When he was on, there's just no way you're going to beat Lennox Lewis. I'm sorry.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, so I like how they introduced that. I like how she's like, man, she's kind of like you're saying. She has that face like, can I please use another fighting style? Which Daniel finally relents.
Yeah.
Tells her, do it. And then that's when she starts fucking getting up.
I wrote down here, loves when she hugs Daniel. Like, that was like all their conflict throughout the season kind of came to a result. And I think even he felt like, really what I want is like my daughter back. And so in that moment, she's not against him anymore. She's with him. She hugs him. I got teary-eyed.
She's like, Dad, just work with this dude.
Yeah.
It works.
Yeah.
She's trying to tell him that both styles work.
Right. Right. Yeah. And again, I love that what Daniel's reasoning was he's like, well, I'm trying to honor Mr. Miyagi, which was great. But he says, I forgot a crucial teaching, which was kind of like to grow your own way.
Yeah, that you're going to find your own style after you're done with me. You're going to find your own style, and you're going to fucking manipulate it to where you're going to have your own.
Earlier, like you quoted, Bruce Rizzo, learn every style.
Learn everything. Why do you have to stop at one style? Learn every fucking thing.
If it's going to help you win.
Yeah.
Rizzo says, Tori, don't disagree with you. He says, no way does Sam get kicked in the face and doesn't stay down.
See, that's the thing, though, because like when you're in a fight, the adrenaline is pumping. I've been in a fight.
Yeah.
The adrenaline does pump up. Even though you get hit in the face, you want to get back up.
Right.
You kind of almost don't feel it until after your fight. Then you're like, oh, fuck.
I'm feel fucking hurt.
Maybe I shouldn't have taken those punches.
Yeah.
And you're kind of like, oh, shit. You see in boxing. We see it in boxing. The guys will go full force.
Yeah.
And then you hear like the aftermath about it, how they're in the hospital for like months.
How many times have we seen guys try to get up after devastating blows, and they their body's saying no, but their brain is saying get up.
Oh,
and I'm like, oh no, he's trying, but
or
he ain't getting up.
Or if they do get up, they get their fucking ass knocked down right away, right afterwards,
because they're
the adrenaline is pumping. Because once you get in a fight, it just starts pumping through you, where you're just like you're in the zone and you want to get up and you want to win.
Yeah,
so
absolutely, I agree with that one for sure. But no, great, excellent point there, Riz, on her getting kicked in the head. I love when they tell her to use her style.
Yeah.
Okay, use your style, you know.
And it scares story. It really does. It scares story for a minute where she kind of has to go in the corner, and then I think that's when they had the blow up, right?
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like Silver and Kreese.
Yeah. And Kreese is having that flashback to when they're choking out Johnny.
Yeah.
He's choking out Johnny.
Yeah.
And they're like, that's like that part. You know,
and that's kind of like you're like, what the fuck's Kreese? Like,
and
what the hell?
It's like, yeah, he's thinking about it.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I'm like, why are you thinking about that one? Which again leads me to my theory. You missed this earlier, Rizzo, but my theory is that they may reveal that John Kreese is Johnny Lawrence's dad. I don't know. I'm not saying I want it to be, but it's my theory. Then we get that elbow from Tori to the eye, the right eye of Samantha,
which wasn't like intentional.
Yeah,
obviously,
she says
Tori's
that.
like,
she says that, but obviously Sam is like, "Fuck you."
Oh yeah, she's not gonna believe that.
No accidents for you, bitch.
Yeah,
yeah. But we also know what that does to you. When you hit in the eye and your eye is starting to close, you're like, now you're vulnerable on that whole side. I felt like from when I was watching the fight, I felt like Sam had a lot of her moves telegraphed. She's like, "Oh, you're gonna do this, bitch. You're gonna do this." Like I was like, "Oh, damn, she got it. She's got her down." Like you know, I felt like Sam was doing really well. She was
looking good. She was. I really thought for a moment that she was gonna win.
Yeah. That one point on the out of bounds shot. Technically, that would have made Sam the winner.
Yeah, it would have.
This reminded me, AA, of when Hogan got his 3 count on Warrior when the ref was knocked down.
Yeah.
I was like, man, Hogan technically won. I was like, what the fuck? Oh, this is bullshit. Because Johnny was right. He was like, she was going out on the hit, and that But of course, we know later that ref.
Yeah.
So we'll talk about that. But okay. Yeah, well, let's talk about it now. We're there already. I mean, like, we know that the ref was dirty. We find out that we see Silver was paid. He wasn't going to let the fight in on a technicality.
That pissed me off because I really wanted Tori to win.
Win clean.
And she looked like she finally had something. After everything we finally know about Tori, it was kind of like a big achievement for her. Not just winning. It was just kind of like, wow, she did it. She rose to the top of the mountain. And she can say now that I'm good at something. I'm really good at this. And for that to be taken away from her, I was like, golly.
So it was a little tainted.
That fucking sucked. I was like, golly.
But really,
it's
only
like
by the one point.
Her too, either. It's kind of like, damn, you didn't really, like, you're that afraid that you paid off someone. I was like, damn.
But only by the one. She would have got that 1 point on the knockout out of bounds, but in a way it was kind of neat because it let them continue to fight. And
it was.
It was a Bills Chiefs situation. Double. It was like if she had another chance to strike, because they're both fucking badass. They're both badass. It just would have been in this instance. Sam would have got her won the one, but that's not what happened. And Tori did get the win. She got the trophy. It was great. It was great for her because you know what it meant to her? She could always call herself a champion.
I did like how they called her Queen Cobra.
Yes, that was
better.
That was one thing that Daryl did right, that piece of shit. I love the Robbie and Johnny talk.
Oh, yeah.
When they're there at the dojo.
Yes.
And when he says, man, I'm tired of blaming you.
Yeah.
Like he's just tired, man.
Finally.
Like this young guy. His fucking dad ain't around, and he just says, and he just embraces it, man. Like, you know what? Like, it's easier to not hate.
Yeah.
And like, man, I can really relate to that.
And I think it can make it work. I really think it can. Now that Robbie will let him in, I think it'll work.
I hope so. Do you think, even though he's about to leave to go after Miguel, you don't think Robbie's going to view that as like, we just getting close and you're bouncing?
Shit, I didn't think about that. You think,
that bothered me a little bit. I was like,
he's gonna go after Miguel,
and he has to because he's also with the mom. So it's like,
and the mom's asking him to.
Yeah,
well, I don't know if she asked him to, but
and not only that, but if I was Robbie, I'd be like, you're gonna go where? Like into Mexico, like cartel shit, like what the fuck, man? like unless he says I'll go with you, which would be interesting.
It'd be really interesting.
It would be really, then you got them fighting together. You know what I mean?
I don't know, Miguel. I was like, no, Miguel. I was like, son of a bitch.
I don't blame him on that. I don't blame him on the going after the dad thing.
Like,
you know? Again, because he's feeling lost.
He is.
He's
feeling
really
way lost.
You know?
He's really
the moment when Johnny called him Robbie fucked him up, man.
Yeah, and then when Johnny told him not to be with Daniel, it's kind of like, oh shit.
Or not only that, but when he's like telling him to beat, Hockey, he's like, that's my friend.
Yeah.
Like, he's like, man, what the fuck? Like, he's like, man, this shit is about you.
He's just lost, yeah.
Yeah, but otherwise, I love that moment between them. I love what Robbie says to him was so great. We get the moment also where we find out that Stingray sets up Kreese. He takes his beating from Silver, blames it on Kreese.
Sensei Kreese.
Sensei Kreese, yeah. And then when they get their hands on Kreese, the cops, he elbows that one. So I'm like, oh,
yeah. You
just added assaulting a police officer on your shit right there, man. Obviously, people referred to the moments that could regard Barnes. Silver says he will dig up some old friends.
I was like, wow, are they actually gonna get Mike Barnes?
When Amanda asked Daniel if he had any more old enemies, he hesitated, and then of course the excellent
Mike Barnes is very extreme. That's a very extreme character, and he beat the shit out of Daniel like bad.
Yeah,
he beat him real bad.
And he seemed more like ramped up than like
Daniel was scared of that dude.
Yeah.
Like real bad, he was scared of him.
Whereas Johnny at points, which people always forget that moment, like at the end of Karate Kid, the first one, where Johnny's like, "You're all right, LaRusso.
You're all right." Yeah.
Barnes is not like that. Barnes was like,
and Barnes, like I said, beat the shit out of him.
Yeah.
He just beat the shit out of Daniel.
Yeah.
Where Daniel was like, "I'm scared. Okay, I'm scared."
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh wow."
Right. He says that. Yeah. And of course, we know like Miguel goes to find his father in Mexico City, and we have that.
That was heartbreaking.
Johnny says, "Yeah, that's tough. That's tough, especially with everything that's going on." He felt alone. I think he felt alone.
Bad.
And then at the very end of the season, we have Daniel at Miyagi's grave. It seems like he's talking to Miyagi, but he said he's determined not to quit.
I didn't know how to feel about this.
About Shozen?
You just traded one villain for another villain. I was like, come on. I was like,
well,
I don't know how I felt about it.
It seems like season 5 is going to go with Johnny won't be with Daniel there at the Valley.
No.
It'll be Daniel and Shozen.
Yes.
And
somehow I don't know what the fuck Daniel's planning, because I mean, they won. What's he gonna do with Terry now?
It was just like a gentleman's bet. I mean, he could just be like, yeah, fuck it.
But what's he gonna do with Terry? Terry's gonna open up all these dojos. What's he gonna do to Terry now?
Yeah, he can't combat that, and it's gonna be almost like like how it was at the school when they show Kenny with the sword. They're like, hey man, you can't wear that hoodie around here. He's gonna be like, but now they're gonna be all over the Valley. Like,
yeah,
we're the prime shit.
I don't know what the hell. I trust in the writers.
Yes,
to come up with something good. It's gonna be weird. It's like, how is he gonna attack Terry now? Like through business?
Well, that's what I mean. I think you need people like Robbie and Tori to be in Cobra Kai still, but they kind of weed him out from the inside. They kind of teach kids the better way. You got to have the Amanda Lawrence.
Okay, Terry's not gonna really be focused on anything. At this point, he's probably just going to open up Cobra Kai's.
Yeah, he's just drunk on power.
How focused is he really going to be on every fucking dojo?
That's what I mean. But he would definitely, once they become 18, he would definitely, I think, give Robbie and Tori their own dojos. But Robbie is already like on the fence.
Yeah, bad.
And he definitely doesn't want Kenny to go down that path.
And him and Silver have already.
Yeah.
They're like, you know what? I don't like this fucking kid anymore.
Yeah.
Fuck him.
You might even have him having a moment where he's like, look, you're going to do things my way or whatever.
Yeah.
But you see, also, too, I love that.
Like he wanted to kill Robbie.
Yeah. I love, though, that Robbie and Tori are developing a relationship because I think Robbie can kind of pull her out of the darkness.
You know what? I don't know how much a relationship that's going to be.
Well, here's another thing that I thought of. Chuck Theory number 2, which, I don't know, but they hooked up in the car.
Yeah.
And I think she might have got pregnant. I don't know what I like for that, for fighting and all that. That she obviously can't fight no more, but that's going to be a big deal because now Robbie's going to have the burden, the responsibilities.
of being a dad.
Yeah. And fighting, she's going to have to be like, but see, this takes us out of having to be the tournament being the primary focus and them kind of growing up, which they are. And of course she's going to be scared because the mom's dying and she's going to be teenage mom still. I mean, an 18 or teen, but I was like, oh man, what if they do that where Tori's pregnant? That would be fucking crazy.
That would be.
So I don't know. A lot of shit there, AA.
And then everyone just keeps it like, is Hilary Swank going to make an appearance? And Ralph Macchio has said that's canon, the Hilary Swank movie.
Which is fine to me. I think that's
cool.
cool.
I love the movie. I saw it. I liked it, but it's kind of like
it's on streaming on Netflix. Right now.
She come? She's obviously the biggest fucking name that they would ever get out of that whole
Oscar
franchise.
winner. Oscar winner.
Two-time.
Sorry,
two-time Oscar winner.
Two-time Oscar winner. Yeah. Boys Don't Cry and
Million Dollar Baby.
Yeah.
So I was kind of like, ooh.
I don't think it's a hard get because the show is super shit hot. What is she doing? Nothing. And B, it does honor Pat Morita.
Yeah. That movie is good though. I mean, I was actually I was like, oh wow, there's guys that don't want to meet her. It seemed like they want to rape her. Throughout the whole movie, I was kind of like, holy shit.
Yeah. I liked it. We were talking about Next Karate Kid, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
With the rape thing, I thought it was like,
no, there's like a scene where like, he really wants her, and there's like 5 guys chasing after her, and I'm like, oh shit, I think they want to fucking rape her.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was kind of like, oh fuck.
I hope she does come. I think
that'd be cool.
These writers have proved they can write anyone into the story and make it good.
It'd be like, wow, we actually would see LaRusso and her character come together.
What season is it? AA where LaRusso goes back to Okinawa? 2 or 3?
It is season 3.
3?
2.
2.
2.
I remember thinking to me like that's got to be one of my favorites because that showed all that. That was so neat. And he, the girl and the girl he rescued.
Yeah.
I was like, they went really deep. I have utmost faith in these writers.
Really fucking deep. I was like, wow.
We need to get these guys' names, AA, because these guys are the Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau of the Karate Kid universe.
For sure.
And there is definitely a way they could write it in Hilary Swank, Barnes, all that.
When I first saw these first 2 episodes on YouTube, because they were free,
I
was like, wow. This is actually really fucking good.
Yeah.
And my wife actually, because we were watching it, she was kind of like on her phone, but she was kind of like glancing on it, kind of like how Jess and Amy were. And she was like, oh, this is really good. I was like, there's 10 episodes. Do you want me to like subscribe to the YouTube TV? And she was like, yeah. And we were like blown away. And I was like, oh, wow, this is actually really good. This is like way better than kind of like the franchise. Almost, I was kind of like, wow, this is really fucking good.
And what sucks is that you had to go through a period, right, of like, oh man, nothing's gonna happen with it before it found life on Netflix.
Yeah, when the season 2 ended, I was kind of like, oh man, YouTube gave up on it.
Yeah,
and then right away Netflix picked it up, and then
it was like the universe gave up on YouTube TV.
Yeah,
and then they were like, Netflix was like, hey, we'll take it.
And I tried telling everyone as much as I could. I was like, hey, YouTube, you gotta see. Cobra Kai, it's really fucking good.
It was just one of those shitty situations where it was like it was the only show they had. Yeah. It was like, what the fuck else is on YouTube TV? Like they weren't set up properly enough for that, But dude, you were right. You were absolutely right.
Man, these 2 guys, who are lifelong fans, they're probably the same age as we are.
Oh yeah,
and they're just like
they're killing it. They're killing it. When they brought back Johnny's Friends. That episode,
the Cobra Kai episode,
that was so badass. Much stuff, man. That
was a great episode. That's one of my favorite episodes. Went there,
and it seems like they're incorporating like every aspect of the universe.
Now they did say that the Jackie Chan one is not going to be canon, obviously, because he was Miyagi.
Well, according to Joe from Now Watch This, he says that that Daniel-san will meet or Miguel will meet a wizard and have him open a portal in the multiverse. This is the fantastic writing of Joe of Now Watch This.
Oh my goodness! And that's why it would get canceled right away.
I don't know about that one, Joe. Might have been too many micheladas on that one, brother. Stay off the headline beer there. Let luck do the heavy lifting for you.
Oh my goodness!
But we'll hope for not Mr. Han to come through for Jackie Chan. Or Jaden, whatever Smith that one is.
Jaden Smith.
We'll pass on that. Although, according to Joe, Will Smith is an executive producer. So
this is his name. So I was kind of like, okay.
But he's got his hands full with the new realistic Bel Air show. So. But overall thoughts, double A. I
This
mean,
man, this was really good. I was blown away by it, and
as was I.
I was like, wow, I can't wait for season 5.
You know, when we're watching a show like this, though, you know what I'm thinking? I'm like, man, how can it get better? How can they keep it up? There's gonna be. I hate to say it, but as a little bit of unfortunate, like you said, a kind of a cynical fan, I'm like, there's no way you can keep being consistent. You're gonna bound to have some bad ones, and I'm like, man, this shit is still.
But you know,
very
that's why
good.
I like how it's only 10 episodes.
Very good.
You know, and they wait a year. Just 10 episodes, 10 30-minute episodes. That's perfect.
Yeah.
You know, because once you start going into the 26 episodes, the 22 episodes, that's when you're dragging it.
Right.
That's when you drag it along.
With filler, a lot of filler. We all know, and it's so funny, right? Because it's like you'll when you look back on it, if everything is good at the beginning and at the end, you won't even remember if there is that or whatever, because that's how we do most shows now. That's kind of what I feel like is going on with like Book of Boba Fett or whatever. People are like so focused on it, but I'm like, right now with just 2 episodes, your mind is so fucking scrambled that you're like, man, that was like extremely gratifying. I saw this meme, right? And it was like this guy is like, all of his skin is like it's like he's like in a wind tunnel, and it's like the levels of fan service shouldn't have reached this level. You know what I mean? He's like getting blown away by it. And I'm like, yeah, that's true. I mean, like, that's exactly what happens, coming in fresh out of YouTube is Rizzo, who says phone died, had to switch. Very nice, Riz. We appreciate that, brother. Are you in the lobby of the hotel you're at using the lobby laptop? I don't know why I got the impression that you were at a resort right now, but maybe that's what I gathered quickly as we were going live. But Riz, you did a great job on Now Watch This, brother. We cannot wait for you now to come on to Just Another Friday Night, and then you'll have gathered all of the acronyms from NWT to JAFN. And guys, if you haven't checked out Chris Rizzo at Invincible Comics and More, go check out their Facebook group. Many excellent buys on there from many different people selling wonderful things in the form of comic books, toys, and so forth.
I bought quite a few comics from them.
Yes, as have I. Wonderful stuff. But yeah, Double A, I loved it, man. It keeps getting better. I have full faith in these writers. Again, these guys are the Filoni and Favreau of the Karate Kid universe. I need to write that in a tweet so I can get some retweets, hopefully. But man, it was good, and I it doesn't seem like it's slowing down. You said season 5 is already done, right?
It's wrapped, yeah.
So when are we getting it? Do you have any idea?
Probably gonna be next year.
Why would they wait a whole year if it's done?
I don't know.
Man, you know what? Do you wish it would drop weekly instead of?
I wish it would.
I kind of do too.
I like the weekly stuff. I've always enjoyed it more. It's like once you do it, you kind of just burn through it, and that's it.
Yeah. Do you know why? Do you know why we don't like it all being there? I realize this. This is what me and you vote. Because if it's all there, we'll watch it.
Yeah.
It's like I don't give me all the cake. Give me a piece of cake at a time. That way I don't eat all the fucking cake.
Yeah, because look at Boba Fett Peacemaker. We're watching it week by week, and it's kind of like
week by week we could be like, hey,
yeah.
I mean, you guys saw my 2 fucking super nerd out, post last week and then this week, where I was like,
yeah,
man, this book of Boba Fett is like, it's fucking with my life. Like I was dying to watch it again. Like I literally sat down my whole family, not last night, the night before, to watch chapter 6. Are we on Book of Boba Fett?
Yes.
I was like, we all gotta watch this together, like as a family. Like this, I my tweet was not a lie. I said, this episode of Book of Boba Fett is the No Way Home of Star Wars. Riz says, I am at the resort in the room in the dark because it's night time. Oh, very nice, Riz. I appreciate that, man. You took the laptop with you trying to get some work done. I know you'll be up all hours like me, brother. So we appreciate you being here, man. Any final thoughts, Double A?
No, it's a really good show, and I hope they keep going. So I've loved it since it came out on YouTube, and I love the franchise. It's something I got into after I moved out of my mom and dad's house. Because I had 2 brothers that said Karate Kid franchise sucked balls. So. And
I told them then that was full of shit. I was the outsider, and that got me beat up a lot.
And I saw it, and I loved it. And my brother came home to like the part where he's like, "You're the best around." He was like, "Oh no."
You know what? I hadn't told you this, but they. So Fortnite does this weird thing, right? Where sometimes it'll add in like a straight up character, But other times it'll add in like when they added the Ghostbusters, but they didn't add like Venkman stands on that. They added like they would call it like let's just say they call it Ghostbuster A, and it's like a guy that has like he's in the suit, the jumpsuit and all that, but it's like a generic looking guy. You know what I mean? And then they have that. So they did that with Karate Kid. So they added in you can like pick, the Eagle Fang Miyagi-Do or Cobra Kai like gis or whatever, like your character will wear that. Yeah. You can run around, and they even have the little, what they call it, an emote, because that's like your little like taunt. And the emote for them is they go into the crane pose, but it plays you're the best around. And I was like, oh, that's fucking pretty awesome. Damn cool. So Fortnite is up on it as well.
That's awesome.
Let's see.
How could he not be?
I'm telling you.
The Cobra Kai shirt, it's just blown through the roof.
Oh man, absolutely, man.
You got Cobra Kai and everything now.
Yeah. Totally. I mean, like I said, I was just telling Double A before the show, my dad just bought an Eagle Fang shirt. I obviously picked this up, which I love.
The Comic Con we went to, they had Kreese there and they had other people there.
Yes.
Man, hundreds of people are just wearing Cobra Kai shirts.
Yeah.
Just gear, Cobra Kai gear. I'm like, wow.
And what did we talk about, Double A? We remember when we were going to cons before the show blew up. And those guys were there, but there really wasn't that many lines. There was no lines. Because who did you met Zabka, right?
I met him, and I went pretty much right up to him. Even Machio. I met Machio and right up to him.
You have their signatures on something?
Outsiders for Ralph Macchio and nice. 8x10 for William Zabka.
Nice. Very nice.
I'm a big Outsiders fan. Yeah. I'm more of a bigger Outsiders fan than I am Karate Kid. So I had Ralph Macchio.
Even now?
Yeah. I love I love the Outsiders. I love that movie.
Okay.
Very nice. I'm a bigger fan of that movie.
There's always a chance to get it now. I mean, now, like we said, the lines are probably way longer.
They are.
Cobra Kai gave these guys new life. I mean, it's so funny because you talked about that with like, Norman Reedus. When it was like,
goodness.
The Boondock Saints time was way different than after the Walking Dead time, especially now. It's like
my wife waited like 2 or 3 hours until she finally was able to meet him. Yeah. Like, golly, his fucking lines are ridiculous.
Some final comments here from Riz in the house. Still, he says, I used
to binge through stuff and not go to sleep. And yep, I'm working on a new shirt. So.
I saw a little sneak preview of this shirt, Double A. I think that you're going to love it.
Oh, okay.
It wasn't much I saw, but what I saw, I was able to gather impressions using my powers of deduction. And Rizzo's working on something really great, so I'm excited to see the completed project on that, Riz. And also, the really, really, really exciting and interesting news that Rizzo dropped at the end of his episode on Cobra Kai with the Now Watch This, guys. I will not say that here. I will let you go listen to that and listen to the very, very end because it's very, very intriguing. Other than that, Double A, I got nothing else, man.
Yeah, you had a good notes. You steered us pretty good. So.
I went through my whole rewatch and it was just as great the second time through. Yeah. I would watch it again in an instant with anybody. I would tell anybody to buy it if they had.
I wish they would release them on DVD. They did on the first 2 seasons.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure they would.
Like, I really wish Mandalorian would be released on DVD. I would buy that in a heartbeat.
That's just money. They're just waiting they're gonna eventually let that cash cow go.
Yeah, I know, but I was kind of damn.
I want a Darksaber replica bad.
Somebody asked me, "Is like, do you have the Mandalorians on DVD?" I was like, "No, it's not on DVD.
That doesn't exist.
On fucking Disney Plus." Yeah, and my cousin Tony does have that Darksaber. He has it signed by
that's
Giancarlo
Esposito.
Very
nice. He went?
Yeah.
Surprised.
Yeah.
Surprised we didn't run into him.
And he had him sign the barrel of Breaking Bad.
Very nice. Also, he's got a couple on that barrel, doesn't he? By now?
He does.
Yeah,
yes, he does.
Very good.
Yes,
very good. We got to see who Tony's gonna leave his collectibles to when he goes to the great beyond. Maybe, yeah. Wow. Mario outlives Tony in this scenario. Mario doesn't die; he just goes on and on forever. Guys, we appreciate you all being here, chiming in throughout the night, bouncing in. Some new people obviously joined. Big Ken and the team over at. I might be tripping. Go check their podcast out. It was a lot of fun. I definitely when I heard them and I found out they went live, I was like, gosh, I want to go to and be on want to hear one of these lives because it seems like they have a lot of fun. And he also cooks crawfish. So on a Sunday at the Who's Who at 5 o'clock. Go get some crawfish from. I'm gonna try to go this Sunday and get some because I love it. Anything else from you, Double A?
No, just stay safe. It's going to be a really cold weekend this weekend, so just stay safe.
Hunker down, bundle up.
Yeah, and wait for Super Bowl weekend, the next
Yeah.
weekend. Oh,
Watch
and it's going to be
some Cobra Kai.
Valentine's Day weekend too, next
Oof.
weekend.
Yeah, so that puts me in Double A in dire straits right there.
I already have everything set up for me. So.
Damn. See, this guy's good.
Yeah.
This guy's good. Guys, yeah, that's it for me. But there is something that we like to say at the end of every show here at Just Another Friday Night. It's been a while. Yeah, when we're together. Yeah, and that is, guys, seize the day. Go out there, whatever it is you want to do, whatever it is you're trying to take hold of, take charge of. You got to be like the Miyagi-Dos and the Eagle Fangs and the Cobra Kais, right? So they all sought to seize the day, to be a champion, or to just kind of find inner peace, it seems like. You know, Miguel at the end decides to seize the day in the weirdest of moments.
He sure does.
And go find his dad. So you guys, too, can do that. Seize the day. You want to write a story, you want to draw a comic book, you want to start a podcast, you can go and do it. Seize the day. And the other thing we like to say is that in order to do that, sometimes you have to do whatever it takes, much like the great Captain America in Endgame, when everything is on the line to get everybody back, half the population, which inadvertently we find out will lead to the birth of the Celestial. So, hell, Cap, come on. You know what I mean? He didn't know that, though. So, still, do whatever it takes, guys, in order to accomplish those hopes, those dreams. Got to do that sometimes. Seize the day and do whatever it takes.
Thanos was right.
That's what Hawkeye read on the sticker. So yeah, guys, I'm CM Chuck.
I'm Double A.
This has been Just Another Friday Night. We're happy to be back together. Happy to be here in the studio with you. We will see you next week. Do we know what for yet?
No,
we don't know what for yet, but I can tell you some things are probably going to wrap up pretty soon, which is like the Mandalorian.
Boba Fett.
Book of Boba Fett. Book of Boba Fett is going to wrap up soon. Peacemaker is going to wrap up soon.
That one has 10 episodes.
Oh, okay, 10. A little bit longer.
Yeah, maybe by the end of February.
Some things we know we're not going to cover, like Nightmare Alley, but some things we know that we are 100% going to cover, which is Book of Boba Fett.
Oh, yeah.
And Peacemaker. Because we're both in love with those right now.
Yeah.
Also, next weekend is Super Bowl. Is that right?
Yes, it's already going to be that weekend. And this Sunday is Pro Bowl, but
yeah,
the following weekend is going to be Super Bowl.
We hadn't really said it yet. Good night, Riz. We appreciate you being here, brother. We hadn't really said this yet, but if you've been paying attention, we do 25 episodes a season. And this episode, we skipped a week last week, kind of for a reason. Yeah. This week, because of the timing, this week's episode is season 4, because we do 25 episodes a season. Season 4, episode 24, which means it makes it overall AA. What?
Episode 100.
Next week. Today is 99. Next week, episode 100. Season 4, episode 25. Join us, guys, live. We're going to have some things planned, I think. I don't know what we're going to do. It might be fun. We're hoping for some really, really cool guests. One you may have met before. Another you may have never met. But if you've met either one of us in real life, you more than likely know them both. But they're going to be fun. We kind of have it planned. It's a semi-interesting conversation. I want to go all over with it because these two team up on me probably if we get all the right guests. But it's going to be fun, and I'm going to see about sending out some invites, maybe getting some people to pop in virtually maybe and offer their thoughts and opinions on their opinions on this particular topic, all leading up to Super Bowl Sunday. Start the weekend with us on Just Another Friday Night. That's it. All right, guys. Stay safe. Stay warm. Have a good night, and we'll see you next week. Good night.